Hey everybody, Roar of the Lions UK, Matt and Ant here, breaking down training camp stuff, looking at roster moves, looking at what Dan Campbell's had to say at the podium before going into Terrion Arnold tape review, not doing Rakestraw despite what the image said, so apologies for that. We will get to that on another show. We are just getting set up, we'll be starting in a couple of minutes. Hope you're all well, had a good weekend, and how you doing, mate?
I'm hating the hot weather we've got here. It's just unbearable, and I just can't do any work. I can't stay focused. I keep going outside, and so I live in a nice part of the world here. Lots of countryside, lots of places to go walk and that, which is great for my health and everything, getting outdoors. But I got a lot of work to do for the pod and that, and I just can't get it done with, with this weather been as hot as it is. I can't sleep very well. I look tired. We just can't deal with it over here, and it would be nothing compared to what the guys over in America get. But here, it's warm, let's say.
There is a spate of American TikTokers who have come to spend some time in the UK, either permanently or just for a vacation. And the number of them that have said recently, I've got to give a public apology, I didn't get it, but now I understand about the British and the ridiculous heat wave doesn't even touch 85 degrees Fahrenheit, but it's unbearable. And, come and experience it. Come and experience it. Rogue Blue just saying, all right, which one of you guys doesn't like Arnold again? Fight me. Rogue Blue, I'm the guy who did the tape review, and I am also the guy, I didn't say I didn't like him. I said I preferred Rakestraw, but I have done more digging, and you'll find out about that when we get into that towards the end of the show. So, running order for you guys, we're doing news, of which there is a lot. It's the most since the season finished, basically, this week. Then we've got training camp analysis. Then we've got the press conference stuff. And then we're going to close off the audio show because it just doesn't work trying to break down tape on an audio pod. It's not right. So then we'll close the show. Everyone please stay here because you're on YouTube and Twitch, so you'll be able to watch the tape review. And then as soon as the audio pod's finished, then we're going to go into the tape review. I'll say it again when we're live, but I just thought I'd get that in there. Of course, we've got listeners' questions to get to as well. We'll get that in at the end of the audio pod. So if you have any questions that pertain to what we're talking about on the audio show, let me know. If they pertain to Terrion Arnold, we'll address them along with Terrion Arnold at the review stage for that. Right, I've got the episode title now. Is it 280? Or have we gone further than that?
Just for the record, I love Terrion Arnold and say he's going to be an All-Pro sooner rather than later, so you can't involve me in that one.
I'm not trying to. Not at all. I wouldn't taint you with my bad takes. Only by association. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Royal Alliance UK podcast, episode 280, Deck the Halls. My name's Matthew Turner alongside Anthony Fitzpatrick. How you doing, man?
Yeah, doing good. Struggling with the heat, but hey ho, at least it's sunny, I guess, and it's not miserable and wet. But yeah, I can't wait for it to be over and for it to cool down a little bit.
Unfortunately, we're going to move into that horrible stage in a couple of days where it's both this sticky and also not dry, but just horribly wet and crap hot. So,
as long as I get a good thunderstorm out of it, I don't care. Like that's the best part. Where the wind starts blowing, it starts cooling down. It's absolutely wet. I love that. That's me at prime happiness. So yeah, as long as that Thursday, I think it's due. So Thursday, I should be feeling better.
Can't wait for it. Right, this is going to be a busy show for you guys, so we're going to get straight down to it. We've got significant numbers of roster moves. We've got a big re-signing. We've got another bit of news to get to before talking about training camp. And then the press conferences. And then for those of you on YouTube and Twitch, we are going to be breaking down the tape from Alabama from Terrion Arnold. So we're going to close off the audio show just before then. And then if you want to watch the tape breakdown, obviously it's best viewed on video because we're breaking down tape. So we're going to get to our preamble now before we get to the news. Don't forget to join our Discord channel. It's the best community of Lions fans anywhere. Really supportive, lovely, happy people most of the time. Talking about basically anything and everything. So come and join us. If you've never used Discord before, don't let it put you off. It's pretty easy to use, really. Links in the chat right now. We'd love to see you there. College Football Podcast, and is going in a different direction this week. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so we will be finishing the Sunbelt stuff off next week, but I kind of realised the season's about 30 days away. I've made a complete hatch of the schedule over this summer because I've been away so much. So we're going to focus on the players tomorrow. So last year, me and Ryan did our first annual pre-season all-star teams where we give you a full 22 of players to watch out for the upcoming year, whether it's just because they're going to be really good freshmen, whether we like them for the draft, or whether we just like them as players in general. So we will be doing our second iteration of that tomorrow. So we will be giving you the players to look out for this year, amongst others last year. I think Ashton Giante was on mine this year, and everyone's talking about him this season, but he was the second string on running back at Boise State this time last year. Ryan had some good ones in there as well. Predicted the rise of Max Melton, the Rutgers corner. So we know our stuff. So if you want to find out about the guys to watch out for this season who maybe not on radar, then come check us out with that one.
What a hit Max Melton is. I mean, even after the season had finished, he probably wasn't really in day 2 territory and ended up being a round 2 pick. So if you picked him before the season, that's a heck of a hit.
Every college football person has like their little niche, and Rutgers defensive backs are one of Ryan's. He's just got a little niche when it comes to that. You know your schools, you know the players are pretty good. So yeah, but it's fun. So we'll be doing that tomorrow. So we'll be talking lots about players. So come check it out.
Love Ryan outing himself as a total sicko. I mean, we all know it, but that's fair. All right. Please don't forget to like this episode, sub to the podcast, all that good stuff. You know, guys know what to do. And don't forget to watch the episodes on Lions Nation Unite, Herman Moore's project to bring the best in Lions content creators together. They are really organising themselves for this season, so it's going to be a really good channel to follow. Don't forget, of course, we are Twitch affiliated, YouTube monetized, and there's a feedback form and tip jar down below in YouTube as well. And we have a merch store. I'm going to get to designing some new stuff actually for this coming season. Just need to get round to it. But the link is in the live chat right now, as well as the description in YouTube. Right. Roster moves. And we've made 2 signings. And we've waived one person, had somebody leave with injured reserve as well. So Michael Bantry is done for the season. Unfortunately, he's on IR. That does end his season entirely. He has torn his hamstring. And I mean, there's no worse injury for a kicker. And Matt Farniok, the offensive lineman, he was waived injured. No one claimed him, so came back to the Lions. And we've now released him once again with an injury. Settlements are paying off some or most of his contract in order for him to pursue another opportunity when he does get fit. And in their place, we've made 2 signings. The defensive lineman David Bader, who has come as part of the International Player Pathway program. He does not count against the roster. He has played for a few teams, I think, in his career, although for some reason I have completely missed where. He's German-born. He was part of the Washington Commanders team. That's all I know. He's played 2 games, I believe. So that's about it. He replaces Max Percher as our IPP player. And then we've also signed Malik Jefferson, who's a linebacker. Primarily, he is a special teams player. He was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals in the 3rd round of the 2018 NFL draft, but he's played on 5 different teams in his 5 seasons in the league. Cincinnati, Cleveland, the LA Chargers, Indianapolis Colts, and then last season at the Dallas Cowboys. He hasn't made any starts. He's made 19 tackles on defense and a tackle for a loss. But otherwise, core special teamer. But that is going to be, I think, your way to the roster. At the depths of the linebacker position, you need to be able to hit on special teams and just pray for a miracle. What do you make of all the moves, Ant? Busy week.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when it comes around to training camp season, isn't it? You will get a lot of injuries, especially on the early parts. I mean, it's been horrible this week. I feel like there's been like 6 or 7 guys around the NFL whose seasons are already done and dusted. Because when you first start up again, you know, the intensity ramps up very quickly. You're at your most vulnerable while you're trying to get into game shape, and these sort of injuries happen and the contact happens. And But it's a shame for Badgley. Like, he's been steady for us. I know he's not going to go down as the greatest kicker of all time for us, but he's a steady hand, a veteran presence, and you want that battle going into camp. You want as much competitiveness as possible. Bates needs to be pushed if he's going to get that job. He needs viable competition around him to push him to be the best that he can be, and it's a real shame. And like you said, it's just a really bad injury. As far as he goes, the hamstring is just one of the things as a kicker you don't want to go at all. And then I say there's just lots of other little tidbitty bits. You get a ton of these roster transactions and stuff coming through, as all the depth guys swap around and everything. So nothing really surprising, I guess. There, obviously, not surprising they're bringing in kickers to try and give some competition there. I know Ryan was very happy when we bought Andre Schmidt in. I mean, kid won the Lou Groza as a freshman, and I think he's got a lot of potential. Lot of potential. He was marked by loads of years of upheaval at Syracuse, and like his long snapper kept getting changed. His coaches keep getting changed, but he's a very good kicker. So if he gets a little bit of stability in there, then we still going to have a very competitive class. Schmidt can kick in the NFL, so I'm looking forward to seeing what goes on with them. Young blood, fresh faces, and hopefully we'll get a good kicker out of it.
Absolutely. So just to give you the entire list of the kickers that are being worked at the moment, it's Matt Amendola, who is the brother of Danny Amendola, former Lion, Lucas Haverich, Matthew McCrane, and then the aforementioned Andre Smite. On the injury list at the moment, the only person currently on the injury list, everyone is back at least in some capacity, is the offensive lineman Christian Mahogany. DJ Reader, it sounds like, is getting some individual work done. It's not that he is necessarily back yet. They're still holding him back. But he looks, and I quote from Jeremy Reisman, I think, almost ready to go. It might be Jeremy. It might have been Jeff. It was one of them. Apologies to both, because I can't remember who. But it looks like DJ Reader is very close. And everyone else who was on the injury list is back as well. So your fears about Marcus Davenport, for example, and he has managed to make it back to the field and looks like he's full go now. Positive news on the injury front. I mean, it looked a bit bleak to begin with people going on. I know it kind of happens every year, but a few of them we have a bit more long-term concerns, and everyone's kind of making their way back.
Well, we mentioned that it would only be concerning if they were on it for too long. Like, lots of it is administrative stuff, final medicals, stuff like that to get them officially off it. So, as it appears to be the case, for most of them, it's worked out. But I know Reader himself, the player today, said he might not be ready for the season. So that's not. I don't think he's. No, I think he has a little way to go. Yeah, I'm skeptical that he's going to start this season. Even if the player himself is saying it, then there's got to be something to it. And, you've got to get your game reps in. Probably not going to play in preseason. So he will be the only one I have a bit of concern about at the minute. I think everyone else will be fine. So as far as things go, we're in pretty good shape at the minute. So I'm not going to complain. And hopefully we can maintain this health throughout camp and not sustain anything major.
Fingers crossed. Now, a major piece of news which broke today, which is Monday if you're listening to the audio pod after this, but on Monday it was announced that the Lions starting left tackle and I think longest tenured Lion currently, Taylor Decker, has signed a 3-year extension. He is now on the team through 2027, so that's 4 seasons under contract, and of course there's always a tag after that if you need it to. It's a 3-year extension worth $60 million in new money and $32 million guaranteed. It was announced by Brad Holmes on 97.1 this afternoon. And what do you think? He has been a player which has definitely split opinion, yet the reaction to the re-signing has been overwhelmingly positive on Twitter. And he's an inspirational guy, whether you really like him or don't. He's kind of carried himself in a really impressive way, and he repaid the faith the last time we did this to him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was always only going to be a matter of time with him. I know when we did the things, I said I'd ride the season out and see what he did, but they're very loyal to their players and they want to pay their players. They've made no ifs, buts, or ands about that. He was always going to stay. It obviously with contracts, you've got to wait and see how they play out first. Obviously, it looks good value. He's only due 13 million this year, so if you're spreading all that out, actually, his value per year is very good. The guaranteed's not massively high in there as well. So you're going to assume that in that last year or two, if his ankle doesn't hold out, if form dips with age, then the team's going to be protected against that. And if he plays well, Taylor's going to be protected because he's got 4 more years of getting paid very well. So it's good for both teams. It gives us stability, keeps the O-line intact past this year now. All the main guys are locked up. There's no questions going into next year, apart from Zeitler. But we always knew that was kind of going to be a 1-year deal potentially with him. But the main three, both the tackles and the centre, are locked up. They're in good hands. Glasgow's in there as well. So, yeah, it's great. He's earned his deal. I know the last time he had a deal, I was skeptical. I don't think he earned that deal last time quite entirely, but this one he certainly has. I'll be glad for him to stay around, and it'll be great for him to hopefully retire as a Lion now. It feels like a while since we've had a player go all the way from start to finish his career here, playing very good football anyhow, at least. And, hopefully he's going to be the first of many. Hopefully Penay's going to follow, Amon-Ra's going to follow, Hutch going to follow. We're going to make a habit of players getting drafted by us and retiring with us. So it sets great precedent. Like, he's one of the leaders on that team. We've paid him, which is great. We've paid both the tackles now. It just shows how the team values their players. And like, the Bucks can't even get their star tackle done up at the minute, and we've done both ours. It's like, yeah, let's get these guys paid and then let's go to the season and kick ass. I like it.
I mean, he's just been the model of professionalism for a long, long time for the Lions, and it's underrated how much of a leader he is there and how much they look up to him. I think it's really underrated what he brings to us as a locker room presence, never mind the play. And whether you like PFF or not, I'm sorry about this, but I will refer to it. This was his best season since 2020, according to PFF. 81.1 grade, matches with 74.4, 75.5, and 82 in the last 4 seasons, altogether. This is his best run blocking season since his rookie year in 2016. And it's been one of his better pass blocking years as well. So across the board, really solid play. His best game of the year was apparently the divisional round against Tampa Bay, where he had a 93.6 grade with a 91 in pass blocking and 93 in run blocking. So even the recent stuff has been really, really good. His best stretch of the entire season was week 16 onwards, where he was fantastic. So, maybe he found some fitness again after struggling a little bit with his ankle. And at the end of the day, Manu might be the future, but the future, alluding to someone on Twitter saying, what's Manu's future? Well, his future is maybe he becomes a starter in his second contract. He's just that far away in terms of consistency that it's one where you're looking maybe his third or fourth year optimistically. I don't think even in year 2 he's going to be someone taking significant snaps. Maybe he can be a sixth man, but this is someone where you've kind of locked up your offensive line, as you said, Ant, for a long time, and that it's very stable. The only place maybe is Graham at some point, but even Graham is relatively young in offensive line terms. I mean, he could have several years left in him, Graham, depending on if he wants to stay. So the line's pretty sorted, and I'm just delighted for Taylor as a person.
Yeah, the front five is obviously the line needs to get younger at some point, though. That would be if you're putting your GM hat on here. What this does tell you is that they've absolutely zero confidence in any of their backups being ready to replace him next year. Like, some GMs would look at this and look at him in his age, and they've got Penay here, and they're like, right, well, next year we'll swap him and we'll put someone else at right tackle. But they've clearly no confidence, and they shouldn't do, because no one is close to breaking into this rotation from our own draft picks just yet. So, but, this is great for the next few years. We're doing good, but at some point we are going to have to invest, because that's 1, 2, 3 guys we've got over 30 on the line now. Is Frank 30? Yeah, he's 29, isn't he?
29.
He's 28 or 29. So we're going to have 4 guys next year who are 30 or over on that line.
It was 28. 28. I said it too optimistically.
28.
He turns 28 in May.
Yeah. He's still young. He's very, very young. It's just I think he's been in. He declared young, but he's just damn good. But yeah, right now everything is great for us. We've got our main guys locked up. They've all deserved it. They've all like Taylor could have requested a trade quite easily, especially during the Patricia years and like when Stafford went, he could have been like, "Yeah, I'm out too. I'm done. I want to go win a Super Bowl somewhere." But he's not. He stayed. Even despite, fans like me in the early years questioning whether he was good enough or not, he still stayed. He's proven everyone wrong. So, this is very well earned, just for his point of view. So it's great. Hopefully now that ankle issue clears up, he's able to play injury-free football and carry on playing as well as he has done because he's absolutely vital for this team.
All right, let's move on to the final piece of news, which is the Lions announcing their greater link-up than before with Maya, and they have now renamed their training centre at Allen Park the Maya Training Centre. It includes a huge upgrade to the training camp experience. If you haven't been, I'm sure you've seen the photos of the big stands that they've got all the way around now, which are covered. Huge improvement for the fan experience of what happens at training camp, but also a $4 million investment in the training room, which they joked the media couldn't see at that time because it was being used by players. But and the Lions have consistently done badly when it comes to the players' annual survey on what it's like to be an employee of the team in this regard. The fact that they are taking steps to address that and very publicly saying it's a priority of theirs is a huge step in the right direction away from where the Ford family used to be. Now it's not only that they're getting things right in terms of coaches and general managers, but they're also putting the infrastructure in place.
Yeah, so I say slowly but surely, everything's tackling one problem at a time, getting everything solved. Nothing you can complain about here.
All right, let's move on to training camp. We have had 4 days of complete analysis by the media people. Day 5 is today. We have had some press conferences just happen from the players in the last half an hour that I haven't got to. We had Dan Campbell speaking this morning, but I've not seen any media reports, so there will be nothing from Monday's practices in this roundup. We will have Wednesday through Saturday last week. All of the first 3 days were without pads. And then Saturday was the first day with the shells on, which meant that there were some more feisty exchanges as things ramped up. So day 1 was Wednesday last week. Mosley stating that he's fully recovered. I should state, by the way, that these excerpts are all collated using our friends over at Pride of Detroit and Lions Wire. I'm not going to spoil the entire articles. Please go and read the source material because they do really hard work and it's worth helping them out do it. But here's the brief roundup. So Mosley's back fully healthy. He really appreciates that the Lions have given him another shot, given, the back-to-back ACLs that, he might have expected other teams to give up on him, but he really appreciates that we haven't. With Carlton Davison and Mick Robertson unavailable on this day, the starting cornerbacks were Arnold and Rakestraw. With Eman at nickelback, had Branch and Kirby at safety and walkthroughs, although Branch was only participating in walkthroughs at this point. He wasn't actually playing when it was full speed. Branch was ahead of Houston at Sam. Barnes was ahead of Houston at Sam, and then Betts behind them. Pascal was starting opposite Hutch at the end. Aleem was opposite either Broderick Martin or Live Onzarike, with Kaminsky repping with the threes, and it seems as though Kaminsky repping with threes is a consistent all the way through this. JMO apparently looks toned, worked on his lower body, routes look crisp. You must have seen, you guys, the big touchdown that Goff threw to him. It was an absolute peach of a throw, but probably an even better catch. The way it accelerates into it, catches it in front of him, takes some momentum to burn the DBs was absolutely delicious. Donovan Peoples-Jones not practicing on this day. The wide receiver 3 and 4 was Antoine Green or Khalif Raymond, depending on what was happening on that particular play. And then 5 was demonstrably Doris Fountain, who's doing really, really well in camp by all accounts. Hooker had axillary issues early on in the day, but rebounded to have a very nice day on day 1. Day 2, Alan Ross and Brown spent extra time coaching the running backs on route running after practice. Goff had another good day, barely missing anything. A 30-yard bomb to Doris Fountain over Terrion Arnold was a key play there. Lever Onzarike is repping basically everywhere, getting stuff at 3 and 5 tech as well as defensive end, much like Pascal. Both of them seemingly relegating commish at this point. Houston showing some inconsistency at Stam still. That shows up later when we talk about press conferences. Jake Bates putting on a show at kicker, barely missing a thing, which is really positive. Terrion Arnold obviously had an up and down day. He got burned for that long touchdown, or long play, I should say, but did come back and make some pass breakups as well. And Caden Davis showing some good form carrying it over from the spring with a good day receiving and blocking, which is going to be his route to the roster. I will stop there and just ask Ant to comment on those first couple of days. Obviously, no pads still, but it is starting to kind of amp up, and you can see where people were repping. I don't know what to make of Kaminsky at the 3s, because that seems to stick out like a sore thumb.
I mean, I don't really... So my thing with Camp is I don't really care about Camp. Like, you rep with these, like, a lot was been made about, I think it was last year, Barnes was repping with the 3s or whatever. He was way down the depth chart. Everyone's going, oh, he's done. He might not make the roster, yada, yada, yada. And, he comes into the season. He does really well. At the minute, it's all about getting the fitness back. It's all about getting into the routine of things, but getting ready for pads coming on. I just don't really care about where they're repping before the pads come on, before I see them in pre-season and how they're doing. But the thing that sticks out this year, I think, for me, especially the early days, is you're just hearing this wide variation of names and like the depth chart, the depth spots that are getting fought for. You're talking about the wide receivers, you're talking jostling for power positions in the cornerback room, and there's just so much quality depth there now that we're talking about. Whereas in previous years, we've kind of been talking about, is there like is there someone who can sneak on this roster because they might be a little bit good or something like that, or they might,
is there anyone available in free agency we can get for the 53-man roster?
Yeah, is this an undrafted free agent looking okay to get on the roster? Now it's like, right, you've got to be good to get on this roster, and the wide receivers especially, everybody's piling in there because they know there's jobs to be had. Like this team has not been shy chucking away receivers who've got NFL experience for guys who haven't if they've been outworked, and they know this. So it's been really, it's been great to see the competition there. Like I say, you've got guys like Fountain impressing, that there's a genuine opportunity for them to make this roster if they impress enough. And this kind of segues into what I was going to say for the whole thing, but they've been given a big opportunity here because Goff, I think out of everyone, like there's not been a single interception at camp. Not one. Because Jared Goff is throwing the ball so well with such accuracy, even downfield. It's like he's giving these guys opportunities to go make plays. He's given them the opportunity, the stage to go out there and perform because of how great he's been. So like the Goff stuff's amazing. Like he's been paid and now he's like, right, I've got to justify this contract, and he's not slowing down. So like Goff's been one of the big points of this for me. But like I say, he's given these receivers just a big stage to shine on, and they're all taking advantage.
I think it's really funny because if you talk about Jared Goff nationally, you will hear the narrative that he's not someone who can elevate a team. And yet I think we're both on the same page in that we think he's putting his wide receivers in the best place to succeed by throwing the most on-time catchable ball that we've seen in a long, long time. If that isn't elevating what's around you, I don't know what it is. It staggers me, the national conversation compared to what the reality is. It doesn't make any sense to me. Many thanks to Jeff Hurley with the super sticker for $10. Says, good luck. Thank you very much, my man. Appreciate you. Let's move on to day 3 on the Friday. Williams and Branch were both excused from the day to attend Kyrie Jackson's funeral. Really sad story. I like the fact that the Lions showed no fussies at all about allowing the players to do that. It's absolutely a great excuse to not be present at camp. Shells went on from day 3, apologies. So increase in intensity here and some small scuffles ensued as a result. Notably getting into right in Barnes. No punches thrown, but a lot of pushing and shoving. And some great throws on the day by Hendon Hooker to Calhoun and Donovan Peoples-Jones. But some bad interception-worthy passes from him as well, although none of them were actually caught, as alluded to earlier. And also some other issues, including being too locked on to his primary target sometimes and not being able to move on, especially in the red zone. The defense didn't allow a big play all day, though, on day 3, in difference to the prior days. It was a real solid practice by Daron Gilbert, Detroit native, UDFA. He had a great rep where he reacted to a play action fake without biting and had some great coverage, which gave Maurice Norris a great chance for an interception, which he also didn't take. It wasn't a perfect day for Daron Gilbert. He was beaten for a touchdown by Sean McEwen and lost a special teams drill rep as well. The Lions offense is reportedly working on a substantial number of trick plays that the media are not allowed to talk about, but it sounds pretty fun. Day 4, the final day that we're going to cover here. It's the first fan day, so the first day where fans were allowed to come in. The rest were just covered by the media. Gibbs and Davenport back to fully participating from that day. There's some more minor skirmishes, notably between Khalif Raymond and Ifeatu Melifonwu, and Jameson Williams and Kirby Joseph. Continuing lots of switches in depth chart day to day. I haven't listed them earlier on in this week apart from the first day, but you've seen Amik Robertson go from the first to the seconds to the thirds and back up again. You've seen stuff like Betts repping with the twos and Houston dropping down to the thirds. You've seen Mosley come up in place of Robertson. You've seen Hooker and Sudfeld swap between the twos and threes. So there's lots of flavours of these guys getting reps with different people and going up against different levels of opposition. It was a really good day for Maurice Alexander, who's stacking a great camp together along with a great spring too. He had a nice catch and he forced a pretty bad DPI from Stephen Gilmore, but Gilmore had one of the better days in camp that a DB has had. He got 3 PBUs, being between the second and third stringers, which is the most of any defender in camp in a single day so far. And any further comments on those last couple of days? I mean, the scuffles keep coming, and I think that Dan probably loves that, to be honest.
Yeah, like you want that. You want the players to care. You want them to, as long as they don't just start lamping the hell out of one another, you're going to get it. These are a load of amped up dudes looking to make a point, and you're going to have a play where someone just riles some up the wrong way when they're talking trash to one another all the time. It's you expect it to happen. I like that, Derek's been involved in a ton of it. Like every day I'm seeing Barnes get involved in scuffles and that, but I like that. For me personally, like the linebackers are the ones I want to be like, yeah, I have a big affinity for linebackers and their play, and I want them to be boss. I want them to start throwing their weight around a bit. I want them to, put their name out there, and for him to do that, I like it. I think he's just going to have a massive year, Derek Barnes is, but he's looking and acting like an NFL pro now. Like going into this year, yeah, he's developed a lot. He's now got the swagger and he's got the skills to back it up. So I have no problem with any of these guys going out there. And again, like, with all the, depth chart stuff, again, that's why I pay no attention to depth charts in this sort of stuff. People just swap round, people here, there, and everywhere. They're trying out, lots of guys are getting trialed out in new positions and systems, and you want to see what works, because you figure with a lot of these guys, it's not like they're just going to have a starting 11. They're going to have lots of different systems with lots of different personnel and everybody playing their part. It's not just going to be a set, you start, you don't, etc. with a lot of these guys. Other bits, I mean, it was mentioned in the comments about how cut down day is going to be a bloodbath. It is. And then like you look at guys like Stephen Gilmore, who's been here for a long time, who's been busting his ass to get an opportunity in this team. And I think it is not unfair to say that Gilmore is due an opportunity in this team. The amount he's done, the amount of work he's put in. But then you look at all the guys around him and you're like, geez, that's a very crowded room at corner now, especially if Mosley's fit and healthy again. as we've been led to believe he is, that pushes the depth chart even further. So there could be guys like him who are gone, who are going to get picked up and are going to ball out somewhere, and it's a shame. But at the same time, he's putting his name out there. Like, he's not giving up. He still believes he can make that roster. It's just going to further the competition even more, and the secondary needs it. Secondary needs to be as good as it can be this year, as good as it's been in a long time. So I like what I'm seeing out the corners there. As for Hooker, I mean, let's face it, it's not been the best camp for him. This is the trouble, and this was always going to be the trouble with bringing him out of college from such a one-dimensional scheme. He's quite clearly struggling to deal with the level of difficulty increase. You know, playing a spread offense, it's just lock on your target, throw it, because they're always going to be open, because you got that many attacking options. Your guy's always going to be open, and you're seeing it in the way he's playing. He's fixing to his number one target. He's holding on to the ball too long. It's stuff that comes with guys who play the spread option offense, and he's struggling to deal with it. And, you know, that's fine. This is camp. Again, I don't really care about it. I care more about what happens when it comes to the games and that. But time's not, the trouble with him is time's not on his side. He can't afford to have bad years. He can't afford to miss years. He's really got to put his first foot forward, for, quick. So let's just say, I think we talked about how if Goff got injured during a game, it'd be Sudfeld who came in. But if Goff had to miss the start of a game, it would be Hooker who started. I'm not sure now, because Sudfeld, by all accounts, is playing really well. And, he's been here a while now. He looks like he's commanding the offense a lot better. I think this quarterback two battle is a lot more intriguing than we all thought it might be. I think we all just assumed Hooker was going to walk into it, but that really doesn't appear to be the case now. Hooker might go back down to quarterback 3 this year. He might be the reserve guy on a match day, but, this is the problem of, drafting him from the system you have. It's going to take a long time for him to adapt and look at home in this offense.
I don't even really mind about all of this. At the end of the day, I think I know who Nate Sudfeld is, and Nate Sudfeld is not a person who can come in and win you a game. He might be a person who can help you hang on to a lead, but if Jared Goff goes down for any significant period of time, we're screwed. Like, there's no two ways about this, and so I don't really care about Sudfeld. Not as a person. Obviously I care about Sudfeld as a person, that's cold, but as a football player, this doesn't change anything for me, even if Hooker is slightly worse than him, because he's potentially the future and Sudfeld just potentially isn't. And if Goff goes down for whatever reason, I just want to throw Hendon in there. I mean, if it means that you're trying to train him up during camp, but then when it comes to game day, you are emphasizing to him, use your legs if you can, get the first downs, take check downs, take easy throws, and then only take things when you really believe that it's there, and try and just make things as simple as you can for him and kind of dumb it down for him a bit during game day. That's fine. I'm happy to kind of go with that. So Sudfeld wouldn't even slightly factor into this for me. I've seen other people say they think that Sudfeld might get 2. I think at the start of this process we thought Sudfeld might get 2, but the longer I think about it, and the more I think about the fact that if we do keep a third quarterback because we want to keep Hooker because we don't want to lose him, but we want Sudfeld on the main roster because we want him to be QB2, that means that someone like Matthew Betts might get cut, that John Kaminsky might get cut, that OT10 might get cut. So that could be Dan Skipper. Would you rather have Dan Skipper or Nate Sudfeld? Would you rather have Kaminsky than Nate Sudfeld? Would you rather have Levi than Sudfeld? Would you rather have Reynolds or Vacchi than Sudfeld? These are the decisions which are going to have to be made. And at the end of the day, I don't think Sudfeld is worth any of those players. At the end of the day, I think he'd make it through waivers. He could be a practice squad guy, and you could potentially elevate him if you really, really needed him. Stop spilling stuff on yourself. I keep seeing it, and it's killing me.
Sorry. I've not even had a drink. I've not even had a drink yet.
Yeah, that's me on Hooker. I'm not saying that I necessarily believe that he's going to be the thing at the end of it, but I think you've got to give him the chance.
I think you've got to get. I mean, I want to go back at quarterback. That's what I want. If Sudfeld's the guy doing it better at this moment in time, then fine, so be it.
Bring back Teddy.
Oh, he's doing high school coaching now, isn't he?
I know, more's the pity, but never mind. Let's move on to the press conferences. I've only got Dan Campbell to go through. Unfortunately, I haven't made it to any of the player press conferences, so apologies for that. It's been a very busy week in Matland. Right, day one, Dan Campbell, before even training camp has started, he's talking about the players coming back. He said physicals were in a good place. They've done the work to this point. One of the journos asked him about his comment in the spring about being at football 401 rather than 101, and what does that mean? And he said, when you watch us today, you should feel like we're ready to play when you watch us. I said, will it be good enough for us? No, but that's why we have camp coming. He said the famous line that I think Ant highlighted very well on Twitter, we don't live off reputation, we live off work. He said there is a price to be paid for success, and we've got to go and pay it again. He said DJ Reader's on course and we're in no hurry with him, but the injury has healed. He said Davenport and Branch are out there in walkthroughs, but it feels like that Davenport will be there quicker than Branch will be. He said the standards are now set by the players. We expect them to call out when it's not acceptable and run the plays again. We set the standards when we first came in, but the players are now taking it from us and they are the ones enforcing it. He said that there is going to be 4 days of acclimatization, a mandatory day off, and then pads are going to start. Of course, pads did start today. He said, you can't expect that you'll be as good as last year. It's going to take the same work and then more to get even further. He threw it back to a time when he was a player where they went 12-4, followed by going 7-9 in the next season with exactly the same team. You'll have seen that quote, I'm sure, if you've been reading anything from Lions Twitterverse recently. I think it alludes to the 2001-2002 New York Giants, if I remember correctly, but I don't have it in front of me. It's one of those teams. Let's move on to day 2, and then I will hang fire and talk with Ant about what he thinks so far. Dan, back at the podium. And what a podium it is, by the way. It's almost as big as Dan is, which is really saying something. So the Mahogany's dealing with an illness, which we referred to earlier, and he'll be back once he's over it. It must be a pretty bad one because he's been out for some time. Fitness test, he said everyone's passed it. He said that when we came into the season, we knew that, or this off-season, we knew that Branch and Davenport were not going to be 100% healthy, but just getting them out there for walkthroughs is big at this stage. He said Branch, he can make a lot of plays at nickel, but at safety you get the freedom to impact games, and we're going to give him the freedom to make as many plays as possible. This is all about finding the best defensive back combination of 4 or 5. Revamping of the building, he said that they're committed to making the best environment for the players across the board. We don't want them to feel like they have to go outside of the building for something football or fitness related. On James Houston, he said that he needed to be able to handle the SAM and be consistent, build a trust so that he can handle whatever we call. We anticipate that he will do that, and then in sub packages at the end, he'll go and do his thing as a pass rusher. We're excited to have him back out there. And then about paying the guys early and having them present at camp, he said it is big. They're the guys that are going to take us where we need to go, so having them present is key. And what do you make from Dan's comments in those first 2 days?
I don't know. I just love listening to Dan. Like, media perception, especially when he first started, was that he was just this sort of roided meathead who had no idea what he was doing. He was just a raw guy. But you look at him and you listen to him, and he's highly intelligent when it comes to coaching. Like, his first press conference, he comes in and the immediate message is, you've done nothing. You're starting from scratch. The mentality that he installs in his team is the core of what makes us so great. It's belief, it's hard work, but you have got to carry on. You can't let this go. The stuff about, you've got to start from scratch. You've got to keep the standards high. You do. It would be so easy for our team to regress this year. Everyone's hyping the Bears, everyone's hyping the Packers, and, teams around us. It would be so easy for us to get to the playoffs and get bounced in the first game. Hell, not even make the playoffs, lose the NFC North. If you let yourselves get complacent that you've been there and done that and it's fine, then you'll soon be back down at the bottom. which is what's so great about the NFL is, you can be, you can go from top to bottom in a very short period. So for him to be immediately emphasizing that how like this doesn't stop, you've got to go win a Super Bowl first before you can start getting on your high horse. It just shows how intelligent a coach he is, and you believe that his team is going to be out there proving that they want to be the very best again this year. These upstarts in the NFC North who think they're better than us are going to get their ass kicked again, and we're going to finish above them again. And this is the new standard here. And every single season, you're going to get the same standard from us. You're going to have to work twice as hard every single season to beat us. I just really, really like him and his philosophy and the way he looks at football. It's how you're very confident in thinking that, yeah, we are going to win the big 1 day, because he will keep them grounded and working hard, and eventually it's all going to pay off, and it's going to be one of the greatest stories ever told about a coach from taking on a team to that. And that's no hyperbole. That's how good a job he is doing here. And you fully believe this team's ready. And as he said, they're in game shape already. The core of the team is together. It's here. It's built. There's no having to we've not gone and got 50 free agents and spent lots of money and revamped this whole team. We have our big ass core already here, already experienced in the playoffs. It's just the little bits around and the odd position here and there that we've had to swap. So you better believe that they are already locked in, lasered, ready to go, and much further ahead than they would be before. So yeah, I just love listening to Dan. I could sit and listen to him talk football all day, to be fair. So yeah, I'm glad he's back. We're nearly there.
I like that Dan Campbell tagline, the greatest story ever told. Makes him sound like Jesus. It's amazing. I love it.
It will be. If he wins the Super Bowl in Detroit, they will make a film on it. And they should make a film on it. Like, this is... I don't want to say he's revolutionized the way to turn a bad franchise into a great football, but him and Holmes kind of have. Like, the way that they've come into a historically bad team. Like, the Browns, they had their one good year and then they went back to being rubbish again. They've achieved nothing, really. What these two are achieving here, the way they've built it and the message they've sent and what they've installed, the culture they've installed, is something that I think is almost unique. I do.
What happens if you combined the offensive smarts of Sean Payton with the rah-rah ability of Mike Vrabel, with being on the same page as your bloody general manager? It's been a terrific thing. And
having coordinators trust. You see so many people in this league where head coaches assume the duty of their speciality, and just there's a guy there for show, but he knows Ben's an offensive guru who can do things that he couldn't dream of. He knows Aaron Glenn is, great on his defense. So it's just about the whole unit. This is a whole unit together. You don't talk about one person winning a Super Bowl like you would with Brady and the Patriots and that. With us, it would be literally everyone from the top to the bottom equally.
Yeah. I do look forward to the time when Lions fans will get used to the Lions being good so that the prices come down so I can see them more often. Guys, chill, please. I want to see the team. I really want to see the team. Sorry.
I just look forward to the reaction of the Bears and the Packers when they realise they're still worse than we are, and all this rah-rah stuff they've been telling us all over the summer is in vain once more, because more than ever, they need putting in their place, and I am ready for us to do that.
Just as a quick aside before we go into day 3 and day 5 of the press conferences, talking about putting them in their place, as a quick aside, there has been a big spat on Twitter between Bears and Packers fans about which quarterback situation is more preferable. Jordan Love on his contract, or Caleb Williams completely unproven on his contract. I know Jordan Love isn't exactly the most proven quarterback in the world, but despite him being ranked too highly around the NFL, there's no doubt that there was some really good stuff there from Jordan Love down the stretch. But that price tag is insane. Which team? I'm not saying which team is coming second in the division to us. I'm saying which situation do you think is better, or which situation is worse?
It's tough. The Bears are the third best team in the NFC North right now. Like, so that all their aspersions that he's walking into a super team or something like that is just rubbish. And it's odd. You've not seen enough of Love yet, but Love is the old school quarterback. He has sat behind a veteran and learned, and he's come in and he's made an impact quicker than a lot of rookies do because he's not immediately been under pressure to do so. And he's learned, however much we hate Karen, off one of the better quarterbacks, really, of all time. He's going to be up there. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And now, yes, it's way too much for his production, but he's at a very stable organization. As much as we hate the Packers, they are stable and they're usually good. The Bears have not proven themselves to be yet. They are a dysfunctional organization. Matt Eberflus is on, whether they like it or not, he's on a hot seat this year. If they start 0-3, 0-4, you can bet your ass he's fired. That's how close a hot seat he's on right now. And you just don't historically trust the Bears to develop their... They ruined Justin Fields, right? Justin Fields, I loved coming out of college. He is potentially a great quarterback, and they managed to ruin him. So I'm under, just because Caleb's there, like the same stuff they're saying about him, they were saying about Fields 4 years ago. And look where that got them. They are historically a dysfunctional franchise who can't deal with quarterbacks. I would take Green Bay's scenario, but with the acknowledgement that they are vastly overpaying him for now. But that is, I guess, the trouble of sitting a quarterback for a while. He's not going to have a bigger body as work as someone you set in year 1 and then you pay year 3 or 4, is he? But I still feel like their approach is the more sensible.
I think in a vacuum, I would take Williams' rookie deal. Love's clearly a better quarterback right now. I don't think there's any doubt. But Caleb Williams' contract is worth $39.5 million over 4 seasons. Going $7 million this year, 9 next year, 10.8, and then 12.5. Jordan Love is on 20.2 this year, and then that elevates to 29.7, 36.1, 42.4, 74.2, and then 34.7 on a void deal. Obviously, they can't live with a 74.2. And in fact, the guaranteed salary runs out after 2026. So the deal is built to re-sign after 2026. If he doesn't work out and they have to cut him, let's say it's 2026 when the guaranteed salary falls out, they will lose $64 million on the cap by cutting him. So they are tethered to him for a long time. They have hitched the wagon and there is no out from here. There's 3 void years on the end of it. And frankly, I'd rather take my shot that Caleb Williams is going to be good and I deal with that in 4 years' time than have Jordan Love on that contract with even a smidgen of doubt as to whether he's the guy or not. I mean, part of me kind of would like to rip up that deal and say to Jordan, you signed the contract you did last year. Play on the tag if you have to, but we're not giving you another deal until you prove it this season. And I just think what they've done is woefully premature.
I mean, yeah, but again, you're just factoring in the money there. You're not factoring in the organization.
No, yeah, absolutely. That was in a vacuum. I would absolutely take the Packers situation over the Bears. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Like, they had to pay him, and you've got to pay him. You look at the money around the league, this is what you've got to pay a starting quarterback now. Like, very soon, like, when Dak gets paid, when Purdy gets paid, like, you're going to have, close to a dozen guys earning over $50 million a year at this point. So it should keep going up and up and up. And it's what the Bears will have to pay eventually if he's any good. So, but in a vacuum, the Packers are a lot more of a serious organization. And the Bears just, you can see how it's going to go now. They're going to start poorly. They'll fire Eberflus. They'll write off year 1 for Caleb as, different head coach. Then year 2, a new offensive coordinator or something like that. And that's just how it goes with them. But all this, I mean, I saw Adam Rank said they were going to sweep us. They're like, I know he's the worst pundit ever on air, but it's just like, what gives you the belief you're going to do that? Like, you finished bottom of the North for 2 years in a row. You've got a rookie quarterback who's never thrown a pass in the NFL. You've not got a great offensive line. Yeah, I don't know. They're just They need putting in their place.
There is no pundit being paid a salary in NFL circles who has been further away, prediction-wise, than Adam Rank has been anywhere in the NFL. Ranked by name, ranked by reputation. Right, let's move back to Dan Campbell. Talking to us on day 3, we had him come out talking about the kickers, and he was asked a question about his philosophy about kicking and whether it's important to be automatic from the shorter stuff without worrying about the longer stuff, and he agreed that he would like accuracy from a shorter distance to be a priority, but he said everyone wants the longer stuff with accuracy, but in the high 40s the percentages significantly fall. About Bates in particular, this is after he became the only kicker on the roster. He said, we've got to put him in as many pressure situations as we can, put him out there and see how he does. He looks pretty good right now, and I like his personality. He's a grinder. On Rakestraw Arnold, he said, they've retained the coaching points we gave them from the spring, and they've improved from there. They're still both a work in progress, but we really like where they're both at. On Hendon, he said, he's improved a small step since spring. There's a little bit of growth. The accuracy has been better. I don't mean it to sound like it hasn't been good. His accuracy has improved, but he's got things to clean up, but we're not disappointed in him, despite that being the implication of the question. And on corners, he said, there's another level of confidence in that room with the additions and retentions that we have, but that's bled through to the total defense too. There is an attitude that every good defense has throughout history, and this team is exuding that. And then the final one, which was this morning, US time, was this afternoon UK time. Dan said, this is it, first day of pads. This is where the guys will separate themselves. This is where it gets exciting. We're going to work them into it. It's only the first day, but it's going to be big for the guys in the trenches. It's going to be big for the cornerbacks and nickelbacks and run fits. It's going to be big for the running backs behind Monty and Gibbs to sort that out. Jamar Jefferson's had a good week, and we know that Craig's as steady as they come. Didn't mention Vaki, which I thought was an interesting omission there. He said, this is the most confident I've seen Jameson Williams since he's been here. He's had the right mindset all off-season, and it's stayed that way. We really like where he's at mentally. And on Dory's Fountain, he said he improved a lot last year, and he's a worker. He's definitely caught my eye. I see him. I told him yesterday, he's making plays, and he's also doing things on special teams. It's a good sign to have a big receiver that runs pretty good at that size. He's physical. He brings a different skill set to the room. And day 3 and 5 comments from Dan Campbell. What do you think?
So starting with the kicker stuff, I agree with him. You want the guys who are clutcher from shorter, because that is ideally where you want them to be. Like, if you were going to give me a choice between having someone who's clutch within 40 and then someone who's better from 55 but is not as good within 40, I will take the guy from 40 every time, because at the end of the day, what makes this team so dangerous, like having a kicker like Justin Tucker's fine, but it makes you safe. It makes you a very safe offense. You get within 50, 55, whatever, and you're, oh yeah, he'll get 3 points. Let's take that. What makes the Lions so dangerous is the amount of times that we are aggressive and go for it on 4th down. We don't settle for these longer field goals. Why? Because other teams don't know what's coming. The reason why our, trick play success rate is so good is because we practice it. We put our offense in pressure situations where they have to deliver on 4th down. And how many times have we seen that come to fruition? We talked about it in the first couple of years of Dan, when we were like unusually aggressive in year 1, and everyone was like, oh, why have we been so aggressive all the time? But if you get your team in the mindset that they're going to be aggressive, if you trust them to go out there in high pressure situations and deliver for your team, they'll do it. And we saw that last year. So I don't really care about having a kicker who can hit 50, 55. I want my team to carry on being aggressive. I want us to carry on going for those 4th downs, because it just opens up so much for this team. And it just means other teams can't relax on us. If we were to get a kicker who's safe in 55 and we were to lose that edge, I think that will be detrimental to this team. So give me the guy who's solid from shorter. That's fine, because that's when you need him. that's that, I'm fine with that. So hopefully Bates is able to carry on. Bates is doing well. He's doing really good. Hopefully that carries on through camp. Hopefully it carries on in pre-season. We see good from him there because we do really need a guy now, especially now Badgley's gone. We need someone who's a bit more clutch from inside the 40. So I agree with Dan entirely about that. In terms of others, I mean, it's kind of just a lot of stuff you expect. I mean, it's nice to see him singling out certain guys. If Jamar Jefferson makes this roster, I'm going to be insufferable this year. And I'm going to be insufferable this year. Year
What's that
4.
different to any other time?
Year 4. Oh, wow. Right. Okay. That's just mean.
Got him!
Yeah, you did. Year 4 for a round 7 running back. I mean, not many round 7 running backs make it to year 4, let alone be still competing on said team. But he's got a lot of competition. But again, this just goes to show the strength in depth around here. Like guys like Jefferson, who a lot of people have forgotten about, are still very much in their plans. And the opportunity's there. Like I say, with Fountain, opportunity knocks. The door very much looks open for him. So, it's promising to hear these guys. And generally, Dan's not one who just blows smoke for the sake of it. He doesn't just like pick a guy out and go, yeah, he's doing great and not mean it. Generally, when Dan's singled out guys in the past, like what has followed is tangible action with them in terms of getting game time or making a roster or so. His words carry weight, whereas a lot of coaches, they don't. They're just, lip service to certain people. So, I like that as well. The other thing, I know it's not on here, but the one thing that made me really happy was when Phipp was talking. They had him out for special teams, and he uttered the line I've been waiting to hear for years. Special teams alone will not get you on this team anymore. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. We've had so many players over the years in Detroit who are useless, who have only got onto this team because they're good at special teams. Now, you've got to be good at both. And how much better is this team now we've gotten rid of all the scrubs who can't play football but can do a bit of special teams? We're a lot better. So
I'm going to set Jason Bell on you.
Thank you, Dave. You made my day. This is what I expect. Like special teams, I want young, upcoming guys who can contribute on the field, who can contribute on special teams, who can do it all. I don't want guys there just cause. So you made me very happy with that one, and I appreciate that. He's a great guy.
Phipp is just a fun guy. The way he called out Justin Rogers positively about his move into independence was really cool. Like, a lot of coaches will proclaim that they don't read the media or don't take any notice of the media or try to not think about it. And Phipp clearly reads it, but also cares about the people in the room. I think that's really rare. I mean, Dan has obviously taken great pains to honour some of the reporters that have moved on, and Mike O'Hara and stuff like that. So, it's not unlike this organisation. But it is completely different to previous regimes here. And it's completely different to the rest of the NFL. Like, the relationship between the media and the coaching staff seems really tight. And that comes despite criticism that comes in deservedly. I think if Dan got criticised and he thought it was legitimate, he'd probably go, I think you're right, rather than getting butthurt about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Just seems a very healthy atmosphere around there right now, and it's back. Like you've seen the fan back in there. Like the fans are truly bought into this thing now, and like convincing Lions fans that you're legit has been a problem that many a regime has had. And even now, just at basic, everyone made a big deal of it last year, like, oh yeah, they're getting behind it and that, but they've not done anything yet. But there was a reason why fans are so vested in this team. There's a reason I'm so vested in it. It goes back to the whole Dan's mentality earlier, about how we're not. I just, like I said, the fear that we regress it should be a very big thing for us right now. Are we the Browns from a few years ago?
Yikes.
And I have absolutely 0% feeling that we're a one-shot wonder like they were. Like, this feels sustainable. They kind of went all in for the 1 year, went, oh yeah, we've knocked down a barrier, and then went back to being rubbish again. And now they're like, well, remember that 1 year we had, we were really good. Yeah, we can do it. We can do it. Whereas us, I feel like we are going to go out there and we're going to compete, and we're going to just carry on being king, especially in our own division. We're going to get closer to the Super Bowl again. But that just buys in at the belief at every single level, and the fans are clearly vested in it, as am I. So it's just a very, very healthy atmosphere this team has throughout the entirety of it. They've got the PR right, they've got the stuff on the field right, they kind of just got everything right, really.
They really have. I mean, just on that media point I was making earlier, because they trust each other, the media access is good. That doesn't mean the stories they write are always positive, but it creates trust that there's not going to be anything unjust. Because the access is good and because the players are encouraged to interact, it means that the fans get a great experience from the media. There's fantastic access that we've never seen as Lions fans before, even beyond what happened at Hard Knocks. It's like they've taken that mentality, kind of what happened with Brad Holmes at the Rams, but taken to another level. The fans are getting one of the best fan experiences I've ever seen. The fans then hear about the team and get excited about it, even when it's not necessarily positive. The fans have trust that the reporters are actually telling them the truth. So the fans get excited, end up turning up to games, selling out training camp, bring the atmosphere and the noise. And then the team have the best chance of success, which means that we get positive coverage from the media, which increases the access. And it's such a self-sustaining good thing. I kind of feel like even if things went backwards a little bit, that it wouldn't shake what's happening. It's super healthy. It's so nice to say.
I think the fans, you would see a split through them very quickly, but everything else I think would be fine. But yeah, this just pales in significance to the toxic culture under Patricia. Like everything felt toxic, everything was toxic. So yeah, this is just a lot nicer in general. And like I say, it's just when you've got a juggernaut, when everybody's pulling in the same direction, a team's a lot more dangerous. It really is. And Ford Field quite clearly isn't. For years, players have preferred to go away from home to avoid the vitriol and avoid the spite and avoid the negative vibes. Now they're desperate to play at home because they know it'll give them an advantage and they know it's, extra man as we do over here. So, yeah.
Never mind the fact that we've got the best travelling supporters in the entire league as well. So it might not be like it is at home, but I mean, they travelled so well last year, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, and you feel like they're going to do it again this year. They'll absolutely travel in their numbers this year, providing they do well.
All right, we've got a few questions to get to at the end of the audio pods here. A couple from Grandizer, one from Carlton Wood. If you guys have any further questions for the end of the audio show, get them in right now. Grandizer's question, actually... Oh, yeah, there's two questions. So with week 1 of training camp over, has your list of Lions who are on the hot seat changed? Are there any add-ons or any subtractions? He defined the hot seat as follows. A veteran player who has not lived up to his hype, and this is maybe his last chance to make the team at any level, 53-man or practice squads. Any hot seat players who have caught your eye or have done well enough to get out of that?
I think Mosley's on his way to moving himself off a hot seat. I mean, I think for me, because everyone says I hate Mosley, and I don't. What I do is I understand the fact that he's not played a game of football in over 2 years, approaching 3 years when the season comes, just because of the severity of the injuries and how long there is between seasons. He's not played for a very long time now. He might look good at camp, etc., but there is a vast difference between camp and in-game action. Like he's going up against Cooper Kupp and Buka Nasua week 1. Like, are you still capable of dealing with guys like that? I don't know, but that's where my skepticism comes with him. You just don't come off 2 serious injuries and pick it up like that. And with the strength and depth in the corner room, I felt like he might be in trouble. I think he's doing quite good. I think he's moving himself into a situation where we can take him as well as all the others and we'll be fine. So I think he's coming off. For me, any potential hot seat, whether he was on one, I don't know. But for me, is the guys who might be going on there. I mean, already gone through the hooker stuff. I know he's not a veteran, but I don't think his seat is as secure as it might have been going into training camp so far. I mean, if you're doing depth chart stuff, I guess Commish is in a bit of bother. if they really like Betts might come into. I doubt it. They really like him, but if you're doing depth chart stuff, maybe he's in a little bit of bother. But I don't really think he is. I think overall, no. I'm not sure anyone is in danger at the moment. For me, it's more been the impressive performances of guys who are like Fountain. He's not going after a veteran's position. He's going after a depth chart. He's going after a depth position in the wide receiver room, which we need anyhow because we've not got no veterans to fill it up. The corners, I don't think any of the major ones are going to fall there. Like linebackers, the linebackers are safe. No. I don't think anyone's on a major hot seat. I'm certainly not expecting to see a surprising name on there as of yet.
Yeah, there's a few names which come to mind for me, but they're just not massive names. There's no one who's in danger who's going to be a household name or a starter. There's a few names which have relegated themselves from hot seat to just entirely not even in the fight. I don't really understand why Traquan Smith is in the building. Like, the guy was on the downslope, needed a good spring and summer to potentially stick around. I don't think I've heard his name, ever. So, I don't get it, especially when Isaiah Williams is having a good camp, Jalon Calhoun is having a good camp, Caden Davis is having a good camp, Doris Fountain's having a good camp. I've not heard Tom Kennedy's name very much. Maurice Alexander's had a really good camp. One of the names I think could be in really big trouble is Donovan Peoples-Jones, which some people want to have as wide receiver 3, but his problem is that he has been injured for a good part of camp, and his competitors are playing really well at camp so far, but they're not playing in pads until today. So it remains to be seen, but I would say that DPJ isn't as safe as he was when he signed his contract this off-season, which is not really saying much because he was signed for almost veteran minimum. So it's like, how much do you really like him? Sorry, did you want to come in on that?
I don't class him as a first. Like, when you say it's like a vet on a hot, I don't mean just because they're a vet in the league, but a guy who was starting for us last year. Like, are any of the guys who were starting last year really in danger? DPJ wasn't. So I don't classify him in that. He's part of the guys looking to get into the rotation for me. He didn't do enough last year to be able to do that. There's no guy who was starting last year that is still here that I think is going to be. I mean, if Branch is moving, then I guess one of Iffy or Kirby's going to lose technically a starting spot, but they're still going to be on the roster. They're going to be just fine, but there's no one I see as a starter who is in danger because of what others have done. No, I don't think there is.
Yeah, I don't think there's any starters. As I say, they're all peripheral names potentially. I will say, I think Dan Skipper's time is limited. I don't see him making it at the moment, but there's plenty of time for that to change. I just don't see the 6th offensive lineman being a big enough role when Colby Sawstill has usurped him seemingly to stick around. Like, that isn't a job. 6th offensive lineman is not a job in the NFL. It is an extra role for someone who's already making it for another reason. It's like what Ant said about special teams players. That can't be the only reason why you're there anymore.
I just think you're mean wanting to see Dan Skipper cry. That's just mean.
Well,
like, this.
But if it was him, why wouldn't people say, I don't want to see Taylor Decker crying?
This Dan Skipper hate is just, it's not right. Dan is a big part of what we do here. So, again, this offensive line stuff is intriguing for me as well. Like, if Mahogany's not playing, that's bad for him. I know illness is not his fault, so you can't hang anything against him there. But again, with the displacement of guys we have here, like, we need guys with NFL experience, and if one of these day 3 guys is just not given the chance to be able to cut it during the preseason, he might be gone through no fault of his own. I don't think he will do, but it's not ideal him not playing. You want to see him in preseason. You want to see him up and going because he needs to show that he can be quality depth going forward, because we don't have any. We have no quality depth here right now, and we're desperate for it. And the Lions, if we get to preseason game 3 and no one's showing out, they may well go out and get somebody. So, it's that's the only thing for him. It's a problem, but that's why I think Skip will be. Skip is used in packages, and he's also one of the best receivers in the league. So, got to keep him for that ability alone. But you can't get rid of Dan, man.
The other guys that I think are in trouble, I do think Kaminsky is in trouble. I don't think he's... Building my 53, he is very close to being number 53. And very close to not being 53. So, it's tough. When you have Davenport, Hutchinson and Pascal definitively ahead of you on the edge, and then you've got people like Levi and Wingo taking reps at the edge, they are looking to replace your role. That much is clear. So, are they going to get there or not? If Levi and Wingo both remain on the roster, it makes someone like Kaminsky expendable, but they still have room to keep him. It's just that you might be sacrificing linebacker 6 to do it. And is that worth it is the question. So it's tough. But Kaminsky definitely is on a sort of bubble area. I think he wasn't here last year, but he was a role player previously. CJ Moore hasn't been spoken about since he returned at all. And it might be a straight fight between him and Brandon Joseph for a 53-man spot.
I mean, he falls into the category of special teams and doesn't do much for your first team. So,
but he was good on defense when called upon in the last season he played with us. He did have like 200 or so defensive snaps, and it was the best he'd ever played on defense, and that was significant.
In what sort of a safety room? Like there was no competition, and it was a bad secondary.
Yes,
Let's not act like we were playing out of the world here. We've got good safeties now, so. And he's not done anything since then, which is more telling. Like, he should get better with age, and he hasn't.
Lost Oceans has a conceptual question before we wrap up here. He says, I understand the cap goes up every year, but with the big contracts they're handing out and McNeil's on the way, how do they sustain success in the future without banking on nailing draft picks?
I mean, you've got to play free agency, right? I guess. Like that's going to be a key, because like one of Brad's successful strategies has been doing all these 1-year deals. You throw out a load of 1-year flyer deals. You only need a few of them to stick, and you do it that way. But I mean, the answer is you've got to carry on drafting well, or you end up like the Saints, who have a few good years, pay a ton of guys, and then have to pay a ton of free agent talent around them to sustain success. It's very difficult. But, I mean, who are the big signings to come for us? Like the really big ones. Like McNeil may well be there. There's going to be Hutch. But who else is in that category right now where they're going to have to be paid significantly? I don't think as of yet. Like, I think Iffy will be at a decent price. I think, Barnes will be at a decent price. And you've got to look, if you're a year or two down the line from here, you're going to have some guys as contracts who are winding down. Like, the great thing is we've got these big
Jameson
contracts.
Williams is the other one.
J-Mo potentially. If he has his breakout year, J-Mo will get paid a lot. But the good thing for us is we don't actually have that many big contracts. I think before we started all these guys, and now we've got rid of Cam Sutton, we had like 3 guys earning more than 10 million a year. And one of them was Decker, and one of them was Ragnar, and one of them was Goff. Like, they're all guys who we've extended who were all big earners. It's not like we've got 10, 12 players earning massive amounts of money here, which is going to screw us cap-wise. I think, we put ourselves in a very good financial position before these deals, and I think they'll be structured out where they won't affect us going forward. Brad had his 3 years to sort the cap out, and he did a very good job of it, and the future cap before embarking on this spending spree, as per se. So I think we're fine. Certainly for the near future, but obviously you've got to, at some point, talent might have to be let go, but that is what good teams do. You have to let some talent go, recoup the draft picks, and just keep nailing drafts. The best teams are the ones that keep nailing drafts.
And if
And
you
over
let
4
people go
years,
and you're not reinvesting in free agency, you're stockpiling those comp picks and then you take shots. It's what
yeah,
the successful teams like San Francisco and Baltimore have done. It I like the spirit of the question in that I don't want to rely on this, how do we do it? But there is more than 50% of relying on nailing it at free agency. The only other thing that you have is you have to parlay your competitive window into getting free agents at a discount, which is what the Patriots did so well for a generation. Is they said, well, we've got Tom Brady, so you are going to sign to get a ring at half your market value. And if you don't, we'll win it without you. And
yeah,
players signed on for lower than market value. And if we can say, this is a weak NFC, we are one of, if not the strongest team in it, you want to play for us. But we've got plenty of options compared to you. So if you want to play for us, you'll take less than market value. And if you don't want to, that's fine. We'll find someone else. We care about you and we want you, but we don't want you at your price.
exactly. And the key part is like if you want to, and it's the same for like draft picks as well, wanting to come here. We draft you, you've got the opportunity to get paid. You think of all the big contracts we've got here. You know, Decker drafted by us, Ragnow drafted by us, Penne drafted by us, you know, Amon-Ra drafted by us. Goff wasn't. Goff is an exception to the rule, but he very much has earned his extension here. And we've even got a history of, you know, the good free agents coming in. We give you 1-year deals. Charles Harris, we gave money to because he had a good stint here. Kaminsky, we gave money to because he had a good stint here. But, you know, we've got our core sorted with our own guys, which means it's easier to build a roster around it. But at the end of the day, there is a lot of luck involved. You can only create the best opportunities, you've already said, by having a team that successfully does well, brings the drive, it brings the value of guys down to sustainable levels. And Brad has shown to be very good with the 1-year market. And if they don't hit, who cares? It doesn't affect our market for the future. That's why the cap's so healthy. Even when he has missed on a guy and spent some money on him, it's off the books in 1 year. So who cares? But the core is built out of our own players who are young and are going to be going for a very long time. So I think we're going to be fine for a few years yet before we have to have these conversations. But obviously, just drafting consistently is the best way to go about that.
I've got a debate in the chat that I'm being a part of that I just want your take on my take. They're talking about Carlton Davis being someone potentially we pay. My contention is that he costs a third rounder, and I don't see us buying in free agency because of all the contracts we've handed out. I would hope to get a third rounder back for him. Despite how he does, I think I'd rather pay other people than him. But I actually think that Mosley is more likely to get re-signed, assuming his health, that Mosley is going to be enough of a depth player that if he shows some promise, he'll probably come back on a much more manageable figure so that we can get someone like Aleem in or someone else under contract. Because if you've invested in Arnold and Rakestraw and Robertson, that it just kind of feels hard to get Carlton Davis at his contract figure to get re-signed.
So I agree to at the minute, Carlton Davis getting paid should not be a conversation because he's an outsider who's done nothing for Detroit right now. Like, you've got to earn your payday here. So I am absolutely not even. I will run the free agency risk with Carlton Davis, even though we spent a third on him. Like, you don't exacerbate a problem by, you know, adding to it. Like, you don't just, you know, giving a third for him is a lot, but it would be a worse decision to just pay him tons of money when you don't know what you're getting and it not work out. Like that, you know, you just have to run the risk here at this point. Mosley owes this team a debt of gratitude for sticking with it. And he said as much. He said a lot of other teams would have canned him by now. So if Mosley plays well, I mean, it is football and it is a money business. And I've got nothing against, like, players go get your money, absolutely. But you would like to think, and this comes back to the culture Dan and Brad run. Like, he would be an example, I reckon, of a player who would come here for a little less because of the culture and the faith that they've shown in the player. Like, you know, and even the Patriots didn't do that. Patriots just bought guys, used them, and then threw them away around their core. We give guys opportunities, and if they repay our faith, we repay them. Like, who have we really let go? Who we've thought, hey, damn it, we really should have paid them.
Not in
Like,
this
nobody.
regime. No one.
No. Like, every guy who you think should have been paid, even outsiders who have come here and played well have been paid. They don't let them go. So, it's just a very healthy culture right now. But for right now, so is the conversation Davis or Mosley or re-signing Davis full stop? Because I'm not paying Davis until he shows that he is gonna, that he's got what it takes to be here. Because you saw the notes about him today struggling massively against pace receivers and having his like, how many Super Bowl winners have we had come here and just drop off? Like, unfortunately, it's still a PTSD moment from the Patriot days. Like, I'm not saying he's not, but at the same time, like, why I've been a little bit more down on the secondary. Not down, but I'm not saying they're going to be amazing right away. None of them have taken snaps in a Lions uniform. None of them.
Yeah.
So we don't know what we're getting until they do. Does Carlton Davis still have that competitive streak that's helped him win a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay? Because you see a lot of players, they win one, and then, because that's what you do in this NFL, isn't it? That's the ultimate goal. Once you've won one, you're not under as much pressure to go out and, I mean, some want to be great, but we've seen it firsthand how many of these guys don't.
Yeah.
So we need to see what he's going to be first. I think he's going to do really well here, but you can't jump the gun on it. You've got to wait and see, because we've invested a first and a second round pick this year in corners, presumably to protect that position for the long term. In an ideal world, Arnold and Rakestraw ball out, and we don't need the other guys because we've got our guys on rookie contracts for the next 4 or 5 years. That's thinking from the mind of the GM. Dan doesn't think that way. He's got loyalty to players, but at the same point, there's a reason we've invested 1 and 2 in the draft. We want those guys to be the long-term guys and the long-term pieces here.
If Davis doesn't work out, you aren't paying him. If Davis does work out, but he can hit free agency, why would he not test it? So I kind of just feel like the route to him getting re-signed is narrow. He can come in and show the veteran leadership of someone who's been there and done it. I will say that his level has maintained despite winning the Super Bowl, because that did not happen last year, and he's still been good. So I don't think the Super Bowl is the issue for him. He's just facing players who aren't like Godwin and Evans. We have a different kind of receiver, and it's an adjustment period with a defense, like you say, he's never played in. So I think that's what that is. But the absolute peak of what this could be is Arnold and Rakestraw 1 and 2 next year, and then Mosley's working his way back into being a rotational full-time player, so comes back on a cheap deal, and we've still got Robertson under contract. That as a 4 could be fantastic next year.
Yeah.
And
This all goes back again to the sustainability of how do you keep a team good for so long and get under the cap and whatnot. If Davis does well, and he goes
extend
and gets
to him a
paid,
good offer.
Extend him a good offer, but if he goes and gets paid, I'm not going to be upset. It's like Jonah Jackson.
If he goes and gets paid, we get a comp pick.
I am delighted Jonah Jackson got all the money. I wanted Jonah Jackson to stay in Detroit. I have no problem with him going and getting his bag. He has nothing but great things to say about this organization, and we did well with Zeitler. And, we can keep going in the future, but players are now incentivized to come here and play well. It's not just their final payday, it's potentially the next payday. You give them the opportunity, to shine. If Davis balls out and we leave, it's a blow. But if Arnold balls out with him, it's less of a blow because we've protected ourselves by having a young star in our ranks to be able to move up into his position. Eventually, you're always thinking about the future. Campbell's here to replace Anzalone. Now, Alex Anzalone is the last player Dan Campbell would drop from this team. Like, he's the first name that goes onto the team sheet, but you have to think down the way. And there is a day that will come when Campbell is the guy who replaces him in this team. And that's just how things work. But I think that's the same with Davis and Arnold. Like, Arnold's here for the long term. He'd be the guy. You want him to be your Carlton Davis for the future. You want him to be the leader, high quality corner. If they can coexist side by side for years here, better for us. But if they can't, and we have to lose him, because we can't pay him, we've got the insurance policy. This is the right way to do things.
Agreed. Moving on from the questions, Grandizer asked, what are the Lions' biggest needs right now? Is there any? Well, should they be trading for a player? My answer is I don't really see a massive need anywhere on the team. Depth at O-line, but everyone needs that, so it's not really a unique need. And I would not be trading for anyone right now. What about you?
No, I've made this very clear that Trades should be reserved for the deadline. There are too many players this year who we need to see if we have it with them. Like, everyone wants to trade for an edge rusher. That's fine. I can understand the argument behind that. But at the same time, as well as Hutch here, you've got Davenport, you've got Hutch, and you've got Pascal. And first and foremost, the best thing that could happen to this team is that one of them breaks out as the bookend opposite him. And you've got to give them the opportunity to do so, to just bring a guy in from elsewhere who might be proven, but he's going to cost you money, which we don't necessarily have with all these big deals going out. It's going to cost you draft picks, which we don't necessarily have or want to give away at this point. It's premature. The best thing for this team is you give them 6, 7, 8 weeks before the deadline to show, actually, I'm the guy. And if you're approaching the deadline and we're riding 500, we can't get to the quarterback, we're struggling for sacks, no one's with Aiden, that is when you pull the trigger on someone, because teams will be selling at that point. You will get some really good players there. That's where you go make your big moves. The same with safeties. We might say we have a lack of depth there. You want to give Iffy and Kirby the opportunity to show they're the long-term parts there this season, because it benefits this team for them to be the guys. They're already here. They're already part of our system. They're our players. We want them to be successful. So you don't trade for somebody. I mean, I'd love to bring in Simmons. He's a free agent. That's different. You're not giving up anything for him. You're paying him a little bit, but still. But all where the big problem spots are, I would say, for us, I don't want to trade in a vet that's going to get in the way of the development of our youngsters. If we're having problems near the deadline, that's when you make the moves. But right now, this team benefits more from giving the guys who are here the opportunity to do it.
All right. Carlton Word with a question. Is it possible that Colby Sawsdall could be a starting tackle, or is the pathway at guard a bit easier? Obviously, he's being repping at right tackle as the third offensive tackle at the moment. Looks like that is his position to lose, but that doesn't mean it's his most natural position. What do you think of his long-term future?
I mean, anyone who knows or listens to me and my scout stuff, I hate moving guys. Just because, like, he's played as a tackle his entire career. Tackle is where he's played. It's where he knows how to play. It's where we should play him. I don't like this whole kicking them inside stuff. I'd be willing to venture it doesn't work as much as people think. He was brought in as a tackle. That's where he's played. That's where he should be developed at. And, you know, I'm just not a fan, really, of kicking guys around and trying to do loads with them, especially with stuff like the offensive line. I want specialists in there. I don't want guys who are versatile and can play 5 positions but only play okay at each position. I just want 5 guys who go out there and absolutely kick ass. We don't move Taylor Decker around anywhere. I mean, we move Glasgow between guard spots maybe, but that's due to injury. We don't move Frank around anywhere. We sure as hell don't move Penne everywhere. We've got specialists on our line. And that's where the most cohesion comes from. That's where, you know, the better teamwork, all that sort of. So why we're such a solid unit. Guys, very simple assignments, and they're very damn good at doing them. So I think his career is at tackle. I think his career should be at tackle. That's where you should be developing him. Like, I don't like the stuff about kicking him inside at all. Just keep him at tackle, keep him there. We need one. That's why we drafted him. So we don't have to have the Matt Nelsons and the Dan Skippers of the world here, where we know they're not going to be a starting level NFL tackle or a replaceable service level for a game NFL tackle. That's what we need there. That's what Colby is. Make it simple for him.
Yeah, I think Sawsdall's a right tackle as well. I think pushing him into guard last year was an operational necessity for the team, but it was also a smart move in year 1 while he was acclimatizing to the pros from William and Mary. It was more, here's your route to the roster in year 1, and long term you're going to be a tackle. I just think this is the natural move, and like you say, it's what he was drafted for. I just see that being the aim. A couple of other questions have come in. Where is it? Lost Oceans. What is a realistic contract extension for Derek Barnes? Cap and contract discussion is over my head. If we were going to pay Derek Barnes at the end of the season. Say he had a good year. A where his expectation is, I think, which is to have a solid to good year, maybe a good to great year. What is a realistic contract extension for you?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, I don't know really right now because he's had his good half season. Like, if he puts together a full season of work, like what it is now to what it'll be then will be vastly different. You can't narrow it down. You can't say, oh, even if he has a good year, you're going to give him 5 million a year or whatever. Like, literally, if he has a bang up year, I think I looked at this a while ago. I think OTC, because they do their valuation, I think they had him about 4 or 5 million a year, something like that. Like, if you sign him up for 4 years, 5 years at 20 million or whatever, then do it. Like, you're going to get some. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think you're probably going to be edging towards the 10 million market with him. I mean, if he is what we expect him to be, you're going to play him as he's going to be like an outside linebacker edge hybrid. You can do him sort of something like that. That's what he was meant to be. That's what he was born to be. Like, he's very good in terms of his fit with Campbell and what they do. They would work well together. They've got very different skill sets. They give you a lot of options available. I think right now he'd be at the 5 to 6 million a year-ish area for me. But with a good year, like a real breakout year, you would be paying up towards 10 for him. I think, like 4 years, 40 million. I mean, what did we give? Oh God, who am I?
I mean,
that's
very high in the linebacker pay scale. Very
what's
high.
that? What's Anzalone on? Is Anzalone on about 10 million a year?
No,
give or take.
No, not close.
Is he not on that much? I thought he was on 8 to 9, something like that.
Well, 3 year 19.
Oh God, so he's on about 6 or 7.
6.25.
But it depends, because it's what you want from Anzalone's a tackling machine, and he's really good with the run defense. But what Barnes gives you is penetration into the backfield and stuff like that's where the price goes up. Like, if you have the ability to make plays on the quarterback and running backs in the backfield and turn those tackles for 4 or 5 yard gains into tackles for 3 or 4 yard losses, that's valued very highly. So I think that would be. And again, this is all predicated on him having a breakout year and being the player that I know he can be. So I think he would be quite expensive if he goes out and has like a Pro Bowl caliber year type thing and plays really well. But again, I see Barnes staying here regardless. I think, again, if he plays well, the team has shown a lot of trust and faith in him. There's been a lot of ups and downs, but I think he's in a system that he likes here. I think the team would, compensate him adequately, and I think he would stay here for the long term. He's in a good room as well. He's in a young room, probably going to win some Super Bowls as well, hopefully. So, but yeah, I think at the minute it'd be in like the 5 to 6 mil category.
I had him on basically in my head the exact same contract as Anzalone, and I didn't really realise it at the time because I thought, like you, he was on a little bit more than that. 3 years, 18. 3 years, 18 and a half, 19, something like that seems about fair for me, given. So his role is potentially more valuable and slightly more expensive than Anzalone, but he also gives you less reps. So those are offsetting issues.
Yeah, it's a lower floor. Like Anzalone gives you a really high floor.
Yeah, massive. And a quite high ceiling. A much higher ceiling than people thought 12 months ago when through the first 7 weeks of the year, he was a top 5 linebacker in the league. Maybe. And then he dropped off a little bit the second half of the season, but he was fantastic.
It depends. There's so many other things with the linebacker position, isn't there? Like the recent sort of, the devaluation of the position, as it were, and you've got other things. And I think they're starting to be recognized again as good players. Like, I don't know why it ever went out of fashion. Like, you've seen, like, it seems like the Panthers have fallen apart because they've lost Luke Kuechly, they've lost the guy who made them who they are, and
now they've lost Frank Luvu, and that's going to make them even worse.
And I know it might be a stretch to say one player means a lot to the team, but Kuechly was that franchise. because of his leadership from the heart of that defense, like a true linebacker, a high level one, a very cerebral one, is worth, I'd pay him as much as I would a D end or something like that for me. Maybe because I like the position more, but there's value to be had for it. So, and the salary cap's going up. Like that's the main thing. Like all positional groups are probably going to rise in price as well to levels we're not used to expecting. Just simply because the cap's going up, teams have a bit more money to be able to pay. So, what we might have paid like an Anzalone contract for him once upon a time, we might not anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
And again, it depends where they see him. Do they see him as like a Harold Landry type guy or an Alex Anzalone type guy? There's a difference.
Absolutely. And to that point, final question before we sign off on the audio show. Michael Lucci's asking, if Campbell progresses like we think he will, does that decrease Barnes' value on the team?
No, because they are completely different players. For me, anyhow, like you have Barnes there as the disruptor. Like he's the guy who goes into the backfield and does that sort of work. That's critical for a team. Helps your edges out, and for me, it's a very versatile role. Campbell is a different guy. Like he's a do-it-all guy, but he's there primarily to be your green dot leader. He's going to be leader of your defense for a long time to come. But I don't think he makes the splash plays that Barnes does. But obviously, he gives you a much higher floor and consistency and stuff like that. If anything, them two doing well, I think it gives you more incentive to pay them both because that's a long-term linebacker call right there for you. And I don't think it's going to cost you the earth to do it either. Like we've struggled for so many years to have a competent linebacker call here and to pay them as such. These both are guys. You want to keep them around for the long-term future. I think, yeah, Barnes' value is not going to be affected by Campbell. I mean, you look at the rest of the linebacker room, right? Emrod, I love Emrod, but I just feel like the team's going to screw him and not give him the opportunity that he deserves properly to go about and do this. I mean, maybe Reeves Mabin's the guy who brings down Barnes's price. Like, as a guy who makes some of the big splash plays, you bring him up to that. If Reeves Mabin has a really good year again, they've shown a tendency to pay him. Maybe he's the one who brings Barnes' value down. But certainly for me, not Campbell.
Agree. While they can play some similar positions, both can play Mike, both can play Will. But Barnes can play Sam, and Jack clearly can't play Sam. Just wasn't good at it last year, and it's not his position. Derek he was a pass rusher who was a semi-functional linebacker. He's progressed into a fully functional linebacker who is a semi-functional pass rusher. If he can develop the pass rush skills like he can the linebacker skills, he is a Swiss Army knife that we said that Reeves Mabin was, but that was more hopeful because you were talking about him being a Swiss Army knife as primarily a special teams player. But Barnes can definitely do the special teams stuff as well. It's just he's been a higher priority on defense, so has played less special teams reps. But he absolutely could fulfill the Reeves Mabin role, and so I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, and you can't forget it's incredibly difficult to develop a linebacker. Like, it's taken 4 years potentially for Barnes to reach his peak, and before that, we've just not developed linebackers before this. Like, our young rookies have all fallen by the wayside, so I think, you pay them when you get the opportunity to, and you make sure that core's locked up, because at the end of the day, for me, it's one of the positions I just don't want to have a problem at, because, they are undervalued. They're the center of your defense. They are the glue that holds it all together. Other positions, I think you can do a little bit easier with, but if he has a great year, I pay him because I don't want to go through another 4-year process of waiting for another rookie to come good. Obviously, Jack should do it quicker because he's a first-round pick, but I don't have to do it again.
All right, so we're going to move on, I think, from here. So we're going into our tape review of Terrion Arnold now. And as I said at the top of the show, we're not doing that on the audio podcast because it's a video format. So if you want to watch that and you're listening on the audio pod, Go and check out YouTube or the replay on Twitch, where we'll be breaking down Terrion Arnold in just a few moments. But let me sign off for you right now. The main show is going to be back this time next week with a round table of guests previewing the Lions preseason games 1 through 3. We will have, hopefully, a guest from every team that we're playing in the preseason talking about how their camps have gone, what standard of player they expect us to face, and how their off seasons have gone in general. College Podcast is back tomorrow with all-star team previews. Team picks.
Yeah. So we're putting together our list of players that we're watching this year and who we think you should watch as well.
You can find us on Royal Lions UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. The group on Facebook for Worldwide Fans is Detroit Lions Fans UK One Pride Worldwide. The website rotluk.com. Please don't forget to subscribe. Rate us 5 stars on your podcast provider. Just remains to me to thank Ant for doing this with me. Training camp week 2 is coming. It's gone well so far. Fingers crossed, no injuries, and the Lions are rolling. Let's go, Lions. One Pride.
One Pride.
Recording stopped.
Brent asks what time tomorrow.
Probably usual time.
You normally start at 8, don't you? Or 7:30.
Half 7.
2:30 Eastern. Right. Grandizer, I am not having any slander against Kiss Me by Sixpence None the Richer. That is an absolute classic.
He's the biggest non-British Northern Soul guy I know. Like, he comes up with songs that even I don't. And I like to think that my Northern Soul library is pretty decent, but he knows more. Hey, it's a trade-off. He knows Northern Soul like I know college football.
Right, I'm just going to pop off for 2 secs and I'll be back.
Okay. So, am I just... Yeah, okay. Yeah. Everybody's got me. If you want to ask me while Matt is gone, then we'll do this. But yeah, we'll very shortly be moving into our tape previews. And this is kind of why I said to him today, let's not do Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw in one go, because we'll end up talking for several hours about camp, and then we'll have to do 2 player reviews, and it's not fair because we'd have to rush through them. So we're doing Terrion Arnold this week. Matt has led the research on this one, mainly because I said I'd do Rakestraw. 1, because I've said Abrams Drain is better, and 2, because I've watched a lot of Mizzou tape because I spent the entire pre-draft process profiling Chris Abrams Drain, and then we drafted the other Missouri cornerback. So I've watched a lot of Mizzou football by default, and they're actually, I loved watching them in general last year. They were just a very good college football team last year. So we will do Rakestraw stuff next week, and I will be as objective as I can be when it comes to it. You'll know I have my, I can't just say he's going to be an all-star because I spent a lot of season saying Abrams Drain's better, but it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to this stuff with Arnold. Like, the guy's just going to be an absolute monster. I've not been this excited about a Lions corner in a long time, indeed. Yes, you've... Mark Marker, hey, Ant, I've been using your phrase "One Pride worldwide" and people are copying it. Oh, appreciate that. I don't even know why. It's when I was doing the college podcast, I was looking for a snappy opening because I did it completely separate from Matt, who usually does the openings for all this, and I think I just settled it. I don't know. I just came across it one day and it just rolls off the tongue really good. But One Pride literally is worldwide. There are fans all over Europe here. We got guys who follow us from Spain, Italy, Norway, Finland, Ireland. And we're trying to make more and more Lions fans everywhere. We're trying to convert. We're trying to rep. Hopefully, one of the things we've got going in the future, we're hoping we're going to be able to interview more of our European compatriots and introduce you to them to show you just how much Lions is a big thing over here. We've hopefully got a lot more content coming up going into this year, because if you don't know, in 10 days on the 9th of August, it will be our 4th birthday. 4 years since we started doing the podcast. We started it in COVID in 2020, and we went from getting about 6 listens a week, which was all us listening back to the show, to, I think at last count, we had about 112,000 audio listens and more views on YouTube. And we are insanely grateful to all of you for that. We'll probably do something big for the anniversary, because year on year we're just surprised how many people love to listen to us. Is there anything in here? Hello, Keith. I hope you're doing well. Grandizer, you've got me alone at last. Yeah, we'll look. I'm actually quite intrigued about the idea of doing like a vlog walking around, because there's lots of really nice countryside and places I go around here. So we might do some little vlogs from having a walk around outside, talking Lions issues, stuff like that. It's me and Matt are trying to get there. We do a lot of work for this pod, and we're trying to make as much content as we can, but it takes a little bit of time and love and effort. So bear with us, but your certainly your queries do not go unnoticed. I've got your back now. I was just saying how in 10 days roughly it's our anniversary, and how big a thing this is. 4 years.
And I'm not here.
Yeah, and Matt's on holiday. Yeah, he cares that much about our anniversary that he's not here. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have to do it on my own. You'll have to come and join me on a stream and keep me company. My partner's abandoning me on our anniversary.
It's also mine and my girlfriend's 10th year anniversary this coming month.
Well, that is a little bit more important, I guess. But
yeah.
10 years with Sarah is a little bit more than 4 years with me talking Lions football. I understand that.
Oh, this is still the best part of my week. Hope she can't hear that. Oh, man. All right, let's get to the tape review, shall we? Shall we?
Yes. So this one's yours.
It is. Just need to quickly do this. How do I do it? Right, I need to turn off that so you can't see us now, and then turn on... No. Turn on that. Hey, there we go. So we are full screen. Then we have this one. And then we have this one. Hey, we're in business, boys and girls. All right. So, Terrion Arnold, drafted 24th overall by the Lions, RAS score of 9.27. He is 5'11 and a half, 189 pounds, 37 inches on the vert, 10'9" broad, 4.5 40-yard dash with a 1.52 10-yard split, and a 6.69 3-cone with a 4.24 shuttle. That makes his explosion great, and everything else is merely good. The 40-yard dash time is poor, really, but everyone knows that that's a load of rubbish, and you see him on tape, he's much faster than that. And he just plays much bigger than his reported height. The 3-cone skills really show up. In terms of stats in his college career at Alabama, he had 108 tackles, 74 solos, 7.5 tackles for loss, 6 interceptions, and 20 passes defended, with a forced fumble and fumble recovery, respectively. In PFF, he had a 90 grade last year, run defense of 90.2, tackle grade of 74.9, pressure grade of 67.9, and a coverage grade of 87.6. Also contributed on special teams, had 279 total snaps on special teams, 1 kick return snap, 65 kick coverage, 117 punt return, 30 punt coverage, and 66 on the field goal block. PFF grade last year on special teams of 60.4. I think he committed a couple of penalties, which didn't help him in that regard. Otherwise, his figures were actually pretty good. In terms of alignment, last year he took 718 snaps in 2023, 2 on the defensive line, 52 in the box, 4 as free safety, 192 in the slot, and 467 as an outside cornerback. So he has had some time at slot. He has had some time, obviously the majority of time, outside. If I remember rightly, he actually was recruited as a safety and then made the transition instantly to corner at Alabama. And he obviously can play almost in all phases of special teams as well as on defense. It is notable that his stats were significantly better against the worst teams on the schedule for Alabama and not quite as good against the big teams. I've selected 2 games for us to watch today and selected snaps from those games. The first one is the toughest assignment in college football last season against Texas and against Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy. The next is against Ole Miss Both games were at home in week 2 and week 4 of last season. Just going to see if we have any chat to have a look at. We do not. So we are going
Made
to get on
Grandis
this.
day by using the term rubbish. Grandis loved it when we use the word rubbish. I'm trying to get him to use balderdash, but he's not as of yet. But we'll get there. We'll colonize him eventually.
It's not a good word to use.
We'll colonize the language.
Oy.
And also, he's up against the best quarterback in college football this year, so this is intriguing. You all love to hate on Quinn Ewers, but he's really damn good.
He actually had a very good game in this game, I will say.
He loves beating up on Bama.
He does. Right, let's watch this. I've got this loaded up at half speed, and we're starting at the 35-second mark. So this is very early on in the game. It might be the second rep on defense. Third rep on defense? Something like that. As you can see, first quarter, second down and 8, 4:15 to go. In this play, he's against Adonai Mitchell and press. Sticky on the line. Lovely 2 changes of direction. The play's actually a run the other way, but just focus on how Terrion deals with Adonai here. Down at the bottom. Looks so small compared to Adonai, but comes inside, then goes out. Really nice footwork. Stays with him. Obviously, the play goes the other way, but stays on his toes, keeps his momentum forward, and doesn't get fooled by him moving at the line, going inside, and then coming back out. Don't think you can see him on the replay here, unfortunately, so we'll just move this on. Any thoughts on that one, Ant?
Oh, nice hits, nice change of direction. Like these 2 guys they're exceptional receivers. So this is coming up against some of the best college football had to offer last year. So, iron sharpens iron.
Right, I'm going to move us here onto the top corner because we're in the way. So down at the bottom here, oh, hang on, we can't see the quarterback either. That's not going to be very good. Right, there we go. So for this one, he's against Xavier Worthy now. So, big problem, different guy. Ensures deep is covered by keeping his eyes in the backfield, recognises that it's a run, it beats a weak block by Xavier Worthy and helps finish the play with a good tackle. It will be a consistent theme throughout this video that Terrion Arnold is an excellent run defender. You will see that pop up a lot. Here we go. Gets really nice and low in his stance, which is nice to see. So, allows him to make a step, and then he recognises that it's a run here. 2 gaps, beats his man, and then hits and gets him down. It's really impressive form.
I actually don't think that's bad run blocking. That's just good disengagement with his hands there.
So he's recognised it's a
run
run
there. It's just good disengagement, good strength, helps his mate bring him down. You know what you think with these Bama guys, the Bama DBs, you have to block the run very well. You don't get in this team by just being a good DB. You've got to be tough.
Very next play, he's against Xavier Worthy this time. He's fooled by a very brief motion, and he's communicating to the rest of the team that he thinks something else is happening, and he gets caught cold. Worthy goes deep. Arnold does recover and keeps up for about 30 or so yards, but eventually gets burned. The ball is fortunately overthrown here, and so it doesn't actually result in anything negative. But watch this. Oh, hang on a minute. This is the wrong play. He comes up here and makes a tackle. That's a good tackle.
That's very good recognition. That's good plate discipline.
I read the bloody next play. This is versus Mitchell. Goes back to cover. Quickly recognises run. Comes up to make a great tackle. Apologies. What I've just read out was going to be the next play.
That's good discipline.
This is really good discipline. Lets his guy go. Yeah. Comes up. Lets his guy come into him, and good tackling form allows his guys to get there.
Yeah, his run defense is solid.
Sorry, everybody. Right. I'm more adequate than Chris Buffett, and that is, well, that's not saying much because I absolutely love Chris, and he's far from adequate, but I am definitely adequate. Right. Here's the play I just talked about. So, you'll see Worthy come in motion towards us here, but it's like a step or two, and I think that our guy thinks that it's a bit more of what's happening. So, he will turn around, talk to his guys, and the play's already started. And you can see that he does keep up with him, but the fact that the play's already started when he's communicating for me isn't great.
He passes on to the safety. You watch when he comes up, he passes on to the safety.
I don't think we'll see a huge amount from this angle, but I'm happy to go back to the other one.
Because you can see the safety drop in there, and it comes, and the safety's got yards. So watch him. He just stops, and the safety should be making that play.
Safety should, but he's too quick for that. I want to go back.
See, I don't think that's getting... You see him, like you say, he's coming up step for step, but he's got a covering safety in there who should be making the play on that ball. But as you say...
That's what worries me. There, right there, and the snap is...
But the linebacker's still got his hands... The linebacker's still making calls to the defense.
Yeah.
Look, he's got his hands to his head, and he's still dictating. A lot of those guys are out. But look, at the edge is not even set at this point. The edge is still stood away from the line of scrimmage, not there. The corners are still moving. That the linebacker is... The linebacker has not done his job there. He's still dictating what's happening. And obviously Terrion's looking to see what's going on, but he's not the only guy who's not set at that point.
Sorry, had Keitho asking about sports betting in the UK. Yeah, I mean, it's just, from a running start, I don't want to see Arnold in this position, because if he's not taking Worthy here, he's got no assignment. So, like...
But he's looking at his team leader asking what's happening.
He is. It's a big feature of Alabama's defense.
So he's issuing instructions at that point, so his DB has to look at him, because he's issuing instructions as to what to do. Because obviously the linebacker can see what's happening from his position, so...
Yeah.
I kind of get where it's from, but I also do get he is looking for instruction there, which is what he should be doing. And with other players not been set, he's not the only one. It's a very good play, in fairness.
I think it's hard because Alabama was caught very cold on defense, in my opinion. There's multiple examples of them having to rush to the line because they can't set quickly enough. And it's not just Texas, because it was against Ole Miss as well. And I know Jackson Dart is also a guy who runs a pretty quick offense, but
they've done it for them 2 years. Texas have always played them quick, and I think that they sort of found a weakness in there against it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because US has had burners to throw at, like Adonai and Worthy for the last two. They've burned a lot of ground, so you can make quick plays and throw it down the field quick. If you get guys off balance by even a yard, and generally US has been getting better with that deep ball, so it's very schematic what they did. They've beaten them 2 years, and well, they nearly beat them in 2022. They did beat them in 2023. So
should have beaten them in 2022.
They should, but US got hurt and was taken out of the game.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, they were way ahead, weren't they? 10 points ahead at that point.
So schematically, they kind of have a number here. They've been out-coached.
All right, this one. Let it run through to the alignment. Here we go. So he's against Mitchell again this time. So note that every time that there's a notable rep, it seems to switch guys that he's against. So Texas really trying to test him, especially week 2. At this point, Kool-Aid McKinstry is by far and away the top-rated corner on Alabama's defense. Obviously, that changed midway through. So on this one, he's giving a little bit of a cushion compared to the previous reps that he had, where he's a bit more in his face. Reacts to a backwards pass to come downhill versus the run briefly, but realizes it's a trick play and recovers really well to compete for the pass downfield. He's called for DPI here, and I think it's exceptionally harsh. And we need to be able to see the quarterback if we're going to see a trick play here, so let me move us over here. So this will be a backwards pass from the quarterback. So he's stepping back here, giving a cushion. Man coming in motion, snaps away, eyes on the receiver, now sees it's a throw, but now he reacts to the fact it's a backwards throw and he knows he has to cover for a trick play. Keeps with him. They've both got arms on each other.
Yeah,
I think that's absolutely fine. But he gets pinged.
See, that's an incredibly good play, because the guy going on the end around, that can be a run. So you see him step up 1 or 2 steps to potentially, is that a run? No, right, let's go back. It's very quick play recognition from knowing that the run's not coming to going back with his receiver.
Any DPI there whatsoever. I think that's fantastic coverage.
college DPI is even worse than the NFL.
Which is really
Believe
weird
it or
because
not.
illegal contact isn't a thing, but DPI is worse. Make
Yeah.
it make sense.
Yeah. Trouble is, and again, SEC reference, not exactly the height of fashion either.
I don't know where to put us here. Let's go here. Okay. This one, it's a run play, so it's not going towards him. Watch Arnold get shaken out of his boots. Like, this is something that Arnold has trouble with when it comes to just quick feet at the line and he's just guessing where someone's going to go. Ends up being about 6 yards away from him by the time the play starts. This is a run, so it doesn't impact the play whatsoever, but you will see several examples like this. I'll just show it again because it's not anything that big until it's something massive, if you know what I mean. Just little quick feet at the line. He doesn't know where he's going, which way is he going, and then he goes the wrong way and turns back the wrong way. If that was a slant, that could go to the house.
But you are also, again, we're talking about a round one wide receiver here.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
but you don't think he's going to face round one wide receivers in the NFL, though? My problem with this is...
Yeah, but the college corners, like, you're not fully developed at this point yet.
Yeah.
And you are coming up again. And the thing that they're known for is their as route technicians. They're quick, they're speedy, they're quick feet. We saw Branch and his secondary get lit up by Tennessee the year before, like absolutely torched by some of these guys. It's a learning phase with it. Not taken away from it. It obviously needs to be dealt with at this level, but we also have to appreciate the level of opposition he's up against as well.
Of course.
They are going to beat, you're going to beat each other in the course of a game.
I think this is the most translatable game compared to what opposition he's coming up against, but clearly he's had a full season after this game to develop and then a full training camp. So it's not like you're going to see this all the time, but it's not a good rep.
So... No, absolutely not.
Okay, so he's outside corner again here. No one in front of him, but you've got to imagine he's probably going to end up on the wide receiver at the end of the line. He sees that the reverse is coming. He beats his blocker well and makes an open field tackle, basically on his own, which could be a touchdown saving tackle even from 35 yards out. This is a really impressive play. So watch the wide receiver. I think it's Xavier Worthy, number 1 nearest us at the moment at the bottom, who's going to come on as a reverse. Fakes a handoff, reverse. The whole of the Alabama line's up front. All of the blockers are out in front. And he makes a fantastic tackle. I mean...
That's just good. That's just good discipline in the run game again. It would be very easy to get sucked into that melee, but he holds his edge. And because he does, he's able to get the leverage on the blocker. The blocker's overcommitting. He's able to come back inside and make that play. And it's very good wrapping up.
I mean,
very good technique.
The play design's absolutely amazing. This guy here is free. But this guy here, that guy there, and that guy there, this should be a touchdown.
Yeah.
The play design's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So... what a huge play by Terrion here. I mean, I know they ended up losing the game, but kept his side in it with this. And now I can't start the thing again. There we go. Just the way that he beats his block, I mean, his poor blocking technique, but it's really good tackle.
You're still got to be able to separate. All it takes is half a second of him being done up and, he's gone. But I think he fakes him out there and the guy lunges. But yeah, it's a great open field tackle. You can see what they like about him.
Yeah.
It's what we've lacked for a very long time. How many times have we bemoaned the lack of tackling on the Lions?
Yeah.
Like, it's just not good.
It's not good at all. All right. So we've got our guy here, Terrion, at the top of the formation. And you will see 2 wide receivers and a tight end and the running back all on his side of the formation. So he instantly sees there could potentially be an overload here. You'll see that the majority of Bama's DBs and linebackers are on the near side. So there's clearly an overload here which could happen if Texas go quickly. So he's calling for help. That's what's happening currently. Great to see that he's communicating. He sees the running back coming in the flat here and goes for a massive hit, but slightly mistimes it, which allows the running back to bounce off it. So while I say he's a really good tackler, he's not perfect, and this will highlight that. So calling for people to come over, which they do, which is really good. Play goes away. He sees the running back all the way. Now reacts to it after the throw. Coming up, and he really tries to deliver a big hit. But he's kind of on half of his body and doesn't really catch him with the full force. But he goes with his shoulder rather than trying to wrap. And we'll probably see this better from this angle, I think. So throws away. There's Terrion on the far left-hand side. And he kind of... I mean, he's going up against a really good running back, but it's not.
Well, it's when you've got a guy on your inside, you think he's going to make the tackle as well.
Yeah,
it's bad technique, but again, I think sometimes there is an assumption there that he's on the outside, he's got a guy to his inside, just lay a hit on him, the other guy will finish it off. He's just trying to stop the momentum there, and technically he does, but the other guy spins him out, which is a pain. So I can kind of understand, but at the same time, yeah, you do want to see you want to go a little bit lower there. Go down near the knees and bring him down. Don't give him the opportunity to spin out there.
So as I was mentioning earlier about his alignment, we know that he played about 25% of the snaps from the slot, and this is one of them. So he's matched up against a player I don't actually know, but oh well. But it's not one of the premier wide receivers. They are at either end of the formation. So we're up against the slot guy in the red zone here. He guesses the wrong way. Again, with those quick feet, he's guessing. He doesn't know where to go. And he's decisively beaten on a route. The actual play is a quarterback scramble. So again, it doesn't necessarily affect what happened on the play. But just watch what happens when he's faced with having a decision of which way is the receiver going. So he's running up the seam, quick, and turns him around completely. 4 or 5 yards of separation in the red zone when you need to be pretty tight. And it wasn't even that complicated a route. He wasn't giving him the quick feet like Worthy was earlier.
It felt like he was trying to lead him inside.
Yes, absolutely yes. If Ewers sees that, it's an easy touchdown.
Yeah.
He's under pressure and he has to scramble upfield. Bama's a D-line that wasn't exactly vaunted last year had a first rounder on the edge, but it wasn't particularly highly regarded compared to what Bama has been in previous years. But they did some bailing out of some of their secondary players, I think, this year.
I remember. I mean, Braswell had 14 sacks.
I
think they were very good against the run. Not that much. But yeah, that's trying to lead him inside and getting. I think it's like Jordan Whittinger. I can see the dreads.
Yes, he had dreads for sure.
But I think that's Jordan Whittington. But it's a good group all across the board, to be fair. But yeah, that is a little too easy. You don't want to see that one. But again, it's college. You see it with every college player. There are examples where they just completely screw up. But it's collegiate players for you. They're not perfect.
Absolutely. 3 plays to go on this one. This one, he's outside corner, nearest us here. A perfectly called cornerback blitz here by Arnold. By Alabama for Arnold. Great explosion off the line. Great tackle technique for the tackle for a loss. So this is a handoff to the running back in shotgun, and Arnold meets him about 3 yards deep. Mitchell can't get there. Great wrapping technique. I mean, that's worthy of a rugby player, that is.
Seen that 2 or 3 times as well. But the sheer pace, you can see the receiver grasping for him off the line, and he's gone.
So explosive off the line.
He's on the inside, you can't hold, and he just holds on. Just literally going along for the ride, but gets him down. It's just good tackling form. It's what you want to see.
It's fantastic. Everything that we didn't see from Vaki last week is on display here for him.
It's very good coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, penultimate one in this game versus Adonai Mitchell here. Mitchell threatens him deep. He backpedals really well. Mitchell comes back inside. He perhaps gives him a bit too much of a cushion, but then he reacts to having been too far away to come forward and compete at the catch point to force an incompletion. So this is a really good play eventually. So starts to give him a cushion, backpedaling, eyes on his receiver, keeps running with him. Now comes inside, gets a little bit of separation, but now he's coming up to it and competes at the catch point.
I think that's an incredibly good play.
It's a fantastic play.
Against these quicker receivers, you've got to give them a bit more yardage. But what it allows him to do is it allows him to slightly undercut the route, give him the space, allows him to get round. He's got the momentum, and he can just come back on the ball and make a play while the receiver stood still. But it's because he's got that gap. If he's too close and the receiver breaks in, he'll have the yardage on him he needs. But that is a good example of giving good cushion and then having the reaction skills to go in and make the play.
I think that Ewers would have been best served undercooking that a little bit and forcing his receiver to come back to him because he's got enough separation.
You should have had it out quicker.
Yeah.
You should have had it out. You should have it out in that situation before your receiver's turned because you have a pre-notion of where you're going. That ball should be halfway to him by the time he's turning for it. But again, this was his first year as a star. Well, starting experience. It's the start of his second year, but he's been injured year one. The experience isn't there, but it's still a very good play. It's technically done perfectly.
Perfectly, yeah, absolutely. Right, last one here, again versus Adonai Mitchell, who again threatens him deep. He struggles to keep up, falls down, gives up a DPI rather than giving up a big play. So it's a bit closer to him at the line. Backpedals, okay, but now he's behind. Grabs a hold, falls over, makes Mitchell stumble. I'm not sure whether the pass was actually catchable, but you would never know because the momentum has been disrupted. I mean, I don't think he intends to actually commit DPI here. I think the stumble forces it, but he's cooked from the line there and he's struggling to keep up. Mitchell's a fantastic fast receiver, so
yeah.
Don't really see much on that replay. That's the Texas game.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a very similar one when Rakestraw's on Parcel. The one I'm doing, the Florida, that he gets a little behind and he stumbles just trying to catch up and he decks it. It's just one of those things that sometimes happens.
So against Ole Miss here, week 4. So PFF grade of 76 on this game, 78 run defense, 60 tackling, 73 coverage. We know that Jackson Dart is you know more than I do, but I would describe him as a slightly less than competent passing quarterback who's a good rusher. Is that fair? He's a moderately okay quarterback.
So Ryan's the one you want to ask about this. Ryan's predicted they're going to win the SEC potentially this year. So you would, and that's after they let him down last. That's after they let him down last year. So he could be better. Let's just say, but this again is a very good team. If you watch him run plays, Quidshot Judkins is the best running back in the country, one of last year. I hate the fact he's gone to OSU, but like he is a premier, top tier, round one running back, without a shadow of a doubt.
All right, first play on defense of the game here for Alabama. You can see he's the outside corner here. The slot receiver on the left-hand side, as the offense is seeing it, is going to run a jet sweep. Beats his blocker, great tackle technique, everything we've seen before from the previous game. Arnold sees it early, sees a handoff, 2 rushes out in front, and Arnold just beats both. The defender who's coming on the backside also clearly helps here, but it is actually, I think, Arnold's tackle, personally.
See how he gets under the block.
Yeah.
See, that's just really doesn't engage, just gets underneath, makes the tackle. uses the offensive lineman's momentum against him. Just ducking down. You love to see edge rushers do that when they're trying to win off the edge, just bending underneath and making the tackle. It's just really good stuff. This will be the stuff that'll have popped out to them while watching tape about him. The amount of one-on-one stuff that he's great at. Like he's just so good. It's something we've not had in a long time in our corners. Like Akuda never did this in college.
No way. So this is a run play, but this is where Arnold's run defense instincts come to play. So Arnold follows the receiver for a little bit, thinking it might be a pass. Both switch off for a second and then realize they're going to be in the play for blocking and run defense. The running back actually, I think, runs into the back of his offensive line and then bounces out to Arnold's side. You will see Arnold two-gap defend this, and he's going to make the play no matter what and gets in the way here, which is really good. So Arnold backpedaling. They're both kind of giving up on it. Now they look. Now they realize they're both back in the play. Receiver engages. He's just watching which side are we going, which side are we going. Now throws him aside and makes the hit. It's fantastic technique because he knows he's on an island in a bit of trouble there. And instead of trying to come to meet the running back, he holds his position and allows his other defenders to come and help.
This is what I look for with D tackles, your ability to get off blocks. And you don't see it as much with corners, but look, he's under his shoulder and off he goes.
And the thing
you
is,
can see his right arm's under his shoulder, so he's got. If he tried to go outside, then the offensive guy's got it. But because he's got the inside leverage, he's able to get in. But that's just lovely.
It's
you see some
fantastic.
D linemen who were not that good at getting off blocks.
Yeah,
that's better than what Wingo was doing last week.
It is quite funny, but it is. Right. This is a misdirect play from the offense. Arnold sees it, comes forward to meet the run, and redirects his man out of bounds. There's no actual contact here, but he just marshals the play really, really well. Sees the man coming in motion. The whole offensive line have gone left, but they've handed it off right. He sees it, and he just makes sure that running back gets marshaled out to the sideline.
Again, that's just such good IQ. The amount of guys who would get sucked into that play so they couldn't recover, but he just waits so patiently on the outside. He doesn't overcommit, and then he's just got the speed to separate otherwise. That, again, is just such good IQ from the guy. That's just what I like about him so much. You see so many of these smaller corners just get tagged on tight ends and offensive linemen because they just go in too quick, and that's it, they're out the game. He's not. Just very highly, he's got very, very cerebral.
I don't have great notes for this play. I have sticky coverage downfield and coming back to the quarterback. I actually don't recall what the play is here, so let's just run it.
He's up in press. Doesn't get fooled by the footwork. Keeps it nice and close. Oh, he's all over him.
Little bit handsy, maybe.
Nah, not for DPI. It's not. That's perfectly acceptable. That's really good. Again, you watch him try to juke him on the line to try and get a yard on him. He just stays on his foot and he doesn't fall for it. It's really close coverage, and when the guy comes back, you see the receiver stumble because he's the one who's struggling to try and get it. And yeah, there's no wrong with that. He's not touching him. He's just trying to get in front of the play. He's trying to put the receiver off. That's very good coverage from a press position, that.
All right. Again,
good receivers he's up against here. Trey Harris, the likes. These are some very, very skilled technicians.
So this is against the lesser seen Zachary Franklin at the top here. Tight coverage. Great competition in the end zone for a PBU at a key time. If I recall, this is with 30 seconds left in the first half. So I think it's second down here, and obviously they're in the red zone. Key time for Alabama because the game is very close at this point. I think actually Ole Miss might be ahead at this point in time. Let me rewind a couple of seconds and see what the score is.
See, this is where Alabama were going every week, playing terrible and winning games. They'll start with that USF game.
So they're down 7-6 with Ole Miss in the red zone, 3rd and 6 with 21 seconds left in the half.
Like Arkansas, I think were beating them at one point. Ole Miss were beating them at one point. Like there were so many teams who should have beaten them last year, and generally it was down to the defense that they were still in these games.
Mm.
It was because Milrow took ages to get going, but when he
Yeah,
did,
he was very good.
he
Yeah.
was damn good.
Right, so watch the competition here. This is perfect timing and perfect competition against Zachary Franklin, who at UTSA was it was UTSA, right, where he was a 1,000-yard plus receiver and then has kind of had troubles since.
He made a stupid transfer to the wrong school.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Here we go. Anyway.
Anywhere else he'd have been great.
So good reaction off the line, follows him. Both have hands on each other, so it's fine. Gets muscled a tiny bit, and yet he keeps his composure and eyes on the ball and competes at the catch point for a fantastic PBU.
See, that's really good. Zachary Franklin is, again, guys who come out of the UTSA system, they're primarily a running school. They do a lot of running there. Their receivers are very physical, very hands-on, very tough to deal with, especially for the smaller DBs. And he's a taller receiver as well. There are many a DB who's been bullied completely by him, but here you don't feel for Arnold at all. It's just a golfing class. He's with him all the way. Franklin's got nothing. And it's just very physical. That's what you like from your corners. Physical fighting. But Franklin's got really good hands and he's really aggressive as well. So, like, that's a very good play against a player like him.
So even now, with 5 minutes gone in the second half, it's 9-7 Alabama, second and 6 around midfield. So this game is still very much in the balance here. Don't forget, Alabama have lost the game to Texas. So every single game is season on the line at this point for them. And I'm in the wrong place here. Okay, let's go up here. He's communicating again, first of all, which is really great. So he's off man here. Off man. Recognises that the guy's running a seam route, keeps pace, makes a great play on the ball for an interception and returns it back 35 yards or so. So this is Arnold's only interception of his college career? No, he had 6. Sorry, I'm an idiot. Why did I think only interception? I was thinking of fumble recovery. I don't know why. Anyway, good interception here. Badly thrown ball by Jackson Dart. See Arnold communicating. Snaps away, backtracks with his man, keeps him in phase. Safety's got him now, so he's free to look at the ball. And then comes around and makes the play on the ball there. And now he's turning into an offensive player. And what can he do? We can beat one. Keeps his feet. Now up against several. Lovely spin move. Couple of blockers. Beats several guys to get out to the 41-yard line. I do wonder whether Arnold could be a return man. I wonder whether he could actually have been a receiver in another life. But let's watch the catch from this angle because I think you'll see the catch is much better here. So RPO, option. Dart goes into the throw. I think his arm may get hit. And Arnold just has his eye on it all the way. Kind of catches it a bit like a rugby player. But the way he steps away from people, his contact balance is really good. This spin, so good.
Sets him right up. It's a very good route. You see from the first view, it's a very good route he runs to intercept it. Just stays on his path, and then when he's ready, he just breaks off and straight onto the ball. Again, just very good discipline, waiting for it to come down and see what happens with the receiver. To see the safety blocks the receiver off and makes that possible.
2 plays left to go, and then that'll be it for Arnold. So, game's now going in Alabama's favour. There's 6:10 to go in the third quarter. 1st and 10 at the 24. Here, he gets fooled by a slight move towards the seam before running an out route. Gets turned around for a 12-yard catch, but then when he's out of position, he overreacts to getting beat and commits too far the other way, so can't make the tackle, and then ends up giving a bigger gain than he needs to. So at the bottom of the screen here, so his guy turns in and then out. Head fake, he gets turned around the wrong way, can't see where the ball is. Ball's caught, and he slips off him. ends up losing maybe 20 more yards than potentially he needs to here. Probably can't see the wide receiver here, but it's only a quick little head fake, but it's enough to gain that separation. And the thing is, when he turns around, he's got his back to the play, which I kind of don't like. I don't know how you do it any other way, but his momentum's just too far on the outside of the receiver, who beats him pretty easily. Just maybe see that again, because it's better from the first angle, I think. As much of these plays are at corner. The backpedaling is good. Just gives him the little head fake. Doesn't lose a huge amount of ground, but it's just... That's not much movement by the wide receiver to get that shake of the tackle. What do you think?
I think it's actually a really good play from the receiver. You know, the route running just to get the little bit of separation, gets the ball in there. He knows what's coming. I think he feels the play there. He knows that the contact's coming. He just waits just a little bit and then in he goes. Again, for the most part, Arnold has shown great anticipation on plays. He's not made too many rash decisions. He's generally been quite sensible about it. But again, you will always get lured into that one occasionally. And Dayton Wade's very good. I think that was the 19 there. That's Dayton Wade. He's a very good receiver. He had nearly 1,000 yards last year. Again, he's coming up against some top tier talent. So these guys.
Talking about top tier talent, final play is against Trey Harris.
And Trey Harris he's big. He's big. He's technical. He's damn good.
And yet, we'll see Terrion get the better of him here in this final play. So guarding the go ball, tight aggressive coverage as we've seen in other reps, great timing and play on the ball here from our guy Terrion. And Trey just goes, and Arnold, they've both got arms on each other, and just competes at the catch point.
Yeah, he knows what's coming. You can see the receiver's eyes light up, and he's just there to get in the way. And like I say, he's as physical. He'll just match up with anybody. Like Franklin, Harris, these are big, strong, physical guys. But again, it's just very disciplined to be able to stick with him, wait for his moment, get his hand in, make the play.
He's got some
that's why
in him.
That's why you have no fear about these. Like when we got Branch and everyone just pointed to the Tennessee tape and was like, "Oh my God, they get burned all the time." It's like, well, if you actually watch the player and what they do, and they are very well technically trained, they're very high IQ guys. That's why these Bama guys thrive in the NFL. Because coaching's next tier, but it's more an exception to the rule. The problem plays you see with him, for the most part, he's just very, very confident. He waits for his moment and then he strikes. He's like a viper.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of really clear things for me with Terrion. One that's going to get him on the field day one, and a couple of things just to work on. And I'm sure that the Blinds coaching staff are working on it, but that he probably got better on it through the year. The one thing which is getting him on the field day one is that Dan Campbell's priority is run defense. Even in the cornerbacks, you see what Branch did from the nickel. But in the run fits, Terrion Arnold's going to be a massive net positive compared to the next guy on the roster. I mean, he's competitive, he can two-gap, he can run blitz. His tackling form is exceptional, even against some of the slippiest running backs and wide receivers in the league in college football. He was more than holding his own. He looks damn good doing it. So that is the reason why he's going to start. And then when it comes to coverage, he's fantastic once the ball's in the air. He tracks the ball really well. He actually manages to keep his eye on the receiver and on the quarterback simultaneously really, really well, which means that he's able to have good ball production. It means that he's able to make plays on the ball at the catch point when he needs to. There's a couple of negatives. I think that how physical he is, some referees will see it as 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, and it won't get called. Some referees are going to flag him to hell because he's just very competitive. And I think that You saw how aggressive he was on that play. I'm not sure that doesn't get flagged at the NFL level. And I'm not saying it's necessarily a negative. It's more just knowing what NFL refs are like and how they call games. The other aspect of it is just before the ball is thrown when it comes to route running, he does have a tendency to just guess a little bit. So if he can keep his weight on his toes, not guess too early, or not guess at all, just wait for the receiver and react to him rather than trying to be proactive in that situation, I think that will go a long way. But the negatives are small and coachable, and the positives are high and not coachable. So this makes him a really impressive player, and the ability for him to communicate to his guys about exactly what's happening and getting them all in the right place. I mean, it's not going to be long before he's a leader on this defense, and it's really, really encouraging.
I agree. I think, because I said with him, by the end of the year, he's going to be great. I think there will be a learning curve, as there is for any corner coming into the NFL. Technicians will get him early, like Cooper Kupp, like absolutely, you know, because again, you've got to deal with the move up into the NFL. You're coming up against vastly superior competition to begin with, but like the one or two problem areas as we've had is the guys who've got him with the footwork and the extreme route running, like the proper crisp stuff. And guys like Cup will give him while he adjusts, and it's just while he adjusts to it. This is not a problem. This is just while he adjusts and learns how to adapt his athleticism and his know-how towards dealing with them. I think if you put him up against a guy like DK Metcalf day one, he'd eat him alive. I think guys who rely, like DK's good, he's great, but a lot of his game is about his strength and bullying DBs and forcing his way to the ball. I think Terrion would stand up against him and really would have, you know, it'd be a great matchup for him straight away. And I think he'd hold his own. But for the extreme technicians early on, I think he just might have a little bit of a bedding in period against them. But I wouldn't be worried in the slightest. There are a lot of DBs who are going to get cooked by Cup and the sewer, and that's a very tough week one. But at the same time, like I'll just expect him to every single play, he'll adapt, he'll learn, he'll get a bit better, and by week 6, week 7, like he'll be just fine, and he will know what he's doing, and these guys will struggle a lot more against him. But again, first and foremost, the run stuffing stuff is just something we've not had on this team for a very, very long time. The ability to shoot past your receivers and get in the backfield quick. Like, you know, I've just been fed up of seeing guys run to the outside on us and just no one's putting a tackle in and no one's doing jack. Like, this is instantly where that gets better. But the great part is, in Carlton Davis is a guy who is very good against technicians. And he's going to be the perfect guy to learn from in this regard. That's why I think they're going to complement one another so well, because I think Carlton's going to be able to, the knowledge he's going to be able to give to Arnold is the little bit of knowledge that he needs. I think the rest of it he's already got. And I'm very, very excited about him being in a Lions uniform. And if you were to say to me, maybe he might threaten a Pro Bowl year one or something like that, I would not put it past him. He's running a gauntlet. He's coming up against some of the toughest the NFL has to offer. And, you know, he will swim. He will not sink.
Aaron Glenn is the perfect coach for him. They are the same build and height. And similar.
Aaron's record with DBs is not good at the minute, so
it's not great as a coach, to be fair. No, but in terms of emulating what he was as a player, they are similar.
See, I think Arnold will become a great player. Like some players will be great regardless of their coaching. Like obviously coaching matters, but I think some of them are just so naturally inherent with their talent that they will find a way. Like life finds a way. Talent finds a way to the top, and he will, and he's in a very competitive room. He's got his old buddy with him, Brian Branch. They go play together. They know one another. They've played a lot. The chemistry will be there with them too. Hell, he'll even played against Rakestraw a lot. There'll be a lot of faces he knows in that room as well straight away. But like, play him day one. Obviously as long as he earns it. But by all accounts, he's doing very well. Play him day one, throw him in there. He will sink. He will swim, not sink.
So Mike D. Barker has a take which I actually had before all of this process started, which I now don't agree with, but then I have a take of my own that I'm going to put to you. And so Mike says, I see him as best fit for taking on the slot, which I've replied to. My comment on him on the slot at the moment is, presuming that this issue of which way is he going against the receiver, that is exacerbated in the slot, and I can't imagine he's entirely fixed that issue. And going up against some of the more technical guys at the line, I feel like slot is off limits to him right now. Maybe long term it can be a thing, but I think at least year one, I would not be risking Terrion in the slot. However, my take is that long term, not necessarily in his rookie contract, I think that what I've seen from him so far kind of suits what we're just about to do with Branch. And actually, I think that he could have a very successful career, maybe at the back end of his career, final 4 or 5 years, going back to safety. I see traits in there which are going to be really valuable at that position.
See, this kind of just comes back to, I hate moving guys around for the sake of it. He is an outside corner in build. He is an outside corner by nature. And what do you want more than anything from your outside corners? You want a guy who's physical. You want a guy who's dominating against the run and who can deal with the biggest and baddest of what the NFL has to offer. There's a reason why they're so highly coveted. And Terrion Arnold is that. I mean, let's not forget, he is not... And his ceiling is huge. He didn't even play 2 full seasons as a starter at Alabama. He's not played much college football at this point. So he's only going to get better and better. But you've bought Amit Robertson to be your nickel. You're bringing Branch to be your nickel. There's a reason don't get clever. And I'm just going to shout this from the roof all day long. Just play them where they're at their best. I know they'll move them around. I know they'll give them different looks, etc. But just play them where they're best predominantly most of the time. Do not get cute and think they might be this and might be that. I'm not picking him that high in the draft to play him at nickel. No. I want him to be a domineering outside corner who can deal with the wide receiver ones that have plagued us since Slay left. That's why I've invested so high in him, and that's where I'm going to play him. If anyone's going to make the transition there, it's going to be Rakestraw. And I will tell you that now, Rakestraw profiles a lot better playing on the interior than he does on the outer.
Hopefully, we will have a look at that next week after our roundtable discussion with the guys that we're facing in pre-season. That'll be the last one of our tape review stuff because we don't have a huge amount for Mahogany or Manu that we want to look at personally. So that is coming up. Thank you for watching this breakdown of Terrion Arnold. Thanks for listening to the training camp and other updates that we had from the podium and stuff like that. Hope you have a great week. Cheers, Am, for breaking this down with me. And guys, we'll see you for the college show tomorrow. But for now, goodbye.